Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. I'm Mike Graham and this, of course, is the Mike Graham Show. It's 7 o'clock. It is Friday the 27th of March. It's the final Friday in March, believe it or not. I know that might sound a bit obvious to you, but I don't know where the time is going. April is coming, and of course everybody knows the good news about April is that as soon as we cross the Rubicon into April the 1st, April Fool's Day, we'll all be getting a rebate from the government. 150, is it £150 that we're going to make on our energy bills? So our energy bills are going to go down. If you believe that, I've got some swampland in Florida to sell you. I'm very happy to say that Rafe Heidelmann-Koo joins me this morning. Rafe, very good to see you. Very good morning. Welcome to the, I don't know what the Ides, you probably know the Ides of March date. Is there a date for the Ides of March?
It's the 15th of March.
Oh, so we've already been past it.
We've already passed it.
So it doesn't bode well for the Prime Minister
Haven't been stabbed in the back, so that's always a good sign.
Well, I mean, in Keir Starmer's case, they haven't stopped stabbing him in the back, have they? I mean, that is the problem. Lots and lots of different stories this morning in the papers, many of them obviously around the whole Donald Trump issue. By the way, I'm just going to take this opportunity to apologise for what happened yesterday. We had a few issues with the sound. Charlotte coped with it manfully. Am I allowed to say that? She coped with it manfully. She did it very well. And she was spinning plates like a good one. And today, we're pretty sure that the sound issues are not going to reappear. So we're happy that that's all going to be working. We've got a great guest list. We've got Andrew Bridgen coming on later. Marilyn Hawes is going to join us. Nigel Evans, the former Deputy Speaker of the House. Also Lee Harris as well. But first, Rafe's here to have a look at some of the stories on the front pages of the papers. And I suppose we kick off, as ever, with a bit of Donald Trump and the state of play in the Middle East, because he appears to have given yet another deadline to the Iranians about the Straits of Hormuz.
Yes, so now he claims that they asked for he was threatening to bomb them if they didn't come and, make some more offerings at the negotiations. Now he says they asked me for 7 days extension and I gave them 10. Now, many people think that's because actually he's trying to delay things to get his ships into the area, into the Straits. Obviously now he realises he wasn't well equipped. He should have planned in advance and got these ships in there. In the 80s, the Americans knew that. Reagan was defending the Straits back in the 80s. Why they didn't think about this for this, the questions will be asked about that. But he's taken the opportunity to have yet another go at Keir Starmer. Yes. He's blasted him as well. We all like to see Keir Starmer getting told off on the global stage. It's always good to see. But I think Trump went too far by attacking our Navy and saying that our aircraft carriers are toys. Actually, we have the third largest class of aircraft carriers in the world. You've got the Gerald R. Ford class, you've got the Nimitz class, then it's the Royal Navy's Queen Elizabeth class. The Russians and the Chinese have smaller aircraft carriers than we do. So it wasn't fair for Trump to say that our aircraft carriers are like toys. They are huge. They're the biggest ships the Royal Navy ever built. And they're the only ones that are bigger are the American ones, and they're only slightly bigger. So,
I mean, I guess the issue for our Navy is not so much that the Navy's bad; it's just that the people running it, i.e., the government, are bad. And
exactly, but I don't like foreigners knocking down our stuff.
So. No, I get that, and I think you're absolutely right. But the other issue, of course, is that, and we'll see some clips about all of this in a moment, is not so much that we have the great power of the ships, but it's just that we don't seem to have them ready. They don't seem to be in any kind of fighting state. I just did, on my New Culture Forum, I've just done a show with Colonel Richard Kemp, looking at the state of our armed forces. And, we've just recently had the British military saying that one general said our army could just about take a small-sized market town. Somewhere like Henley-on-Thames, basically, is the limits of what we can do. It's quite astonishing. The Americans don't trust us to be able to actually have a brigade, which is about 3,000 to 5,000 troops. And again, that talks to the unreliability, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, of the current Prime Minister and his inability to kind of commit himself to anything because he's frightened of upsetting the Muslim population of Britain. So he doesn't want to get involved in any war against anyone who might be in the Middle East. But let's play a couple of the clips, Charlotte, shall we? Donald Trump, first of all, talking yesterday, and upsetting Rafe, which I'm not having, about the toy nature of our Navy. Have a look.
We had the UK say that we'll send, this is 3 weeks ago, we'll send our aircraft carriers, which aren't the best aircraft carriers. War is over. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Don't bother. We don't need it. And we don't need it, and we don't need them.
We don't need them. We don't need them. Well, I mean, it did need them because it did ask for them. But have a look at this. You might have seen this yesterday. This was John Healey, formerly known as the very reliable Defence Secretary of the UK, when Labour got in back in July of 24, we were told, yes, there are some holes in the cabinet. Rachel Reeves might not be very clever. Angela Rayner's a bit of a liability. Keir Starmer's never been in charge of anything before properly. But John Healey, now he's a guy that you can absolutely trust because he's solid. He's been in government before with Tony Blair. He knows what he's doing. Have a look at his performance yesterday with Nick Ferrari when he was asked about the state of the Navy.
How many frigates do we have in the fleet?
We have 17 frigates and destroyers. It's down from 23 at the end of the last Labour government. And as I say, the number of mine hunters have been cut by more than a half. And so that we can meet not just the threats we face now, but the threats in the future.
Mr. Healey, if we've got a fleet of 17 in total, where are they all?
Well, every nation, with every piece of its military kit, has some in operation, some on deployment, some in states of readiness, some being repaired and maintained.
We only have one in operation.
It's a regular rhythm that is common to military planning. But
we only have HMS Dragon in operation down there now. Where are all the others? Are all the others being repaired in some way, shape or form?
I'm proud of what we're able to do. I'm proud of the fact that the forces that we've got have risen to the challenges in the Middle East.
I know, sir, but are they all being repaired, or are they not functioning correctly? 17 vessels. We would have known for months that we were heading this operation in April. Why did it not occur to someone, well, we're going to need one of our warships because we're commanding the operation in April, let's make sure it's available. Why did that not occur to anyone?
We were preparing Dragon for that flagship role.
So we have one warship available because Dragon had to go obviously down to Cyprus.
I have to make decisions based on what we've got.
I mean, that has to be one of the worst interviews I've ever seen of any cabinet minister on any subject.
And the thing is, when you go on Nick Ferrari's show, you know he's going to ask you these questions, right?
Because he's very good at asking a specific number question.
Yes,
right?
it's one of those, as Diane Abbott found out to her chagrin. So obviously his spads are going to be giving a right old rollicking, I think, at the moment, because they should have had that data there. But how can you be in a situation where we're talking about the Navy every single day?
Yes.
And it's not as if they're asking about some tiny ships, how many of these might... No, these are major things.
And also, it's not as if there's thousands of them. I mean, we're talking dozens, aren't we? So, I mean, it's not difficult to have a clue as to what status they are all in. I mean, the Mail, for example, and we hear all the time from people like Steve Reed. God knows why they keep putting him out to talk about the defence of the realm, but, we hear from people like him, we don't want to talk about operational matters. Well, it's not an operational matter to answer a straightforward question. And in the Mail, for example, they've got what remains of our proud fleet, a really good graphic, actually. 2, as you said, Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers, 1 HMS Prince of Wales, 1 HMS Queen Elizabeth, both being refitted, undergoing maintenance is the Prince of Wales. It's 116 days since its last operation. The HMS Queen Elizabeth, 482 days since its last operation. And
only one of them is actually equipped to carry planes at the moment.
Yeah.
So an aircraft carrier, usually the clue's in the name.
Yeah.
So even if we did send them over to help Trump, he would probably have to put his own planes on our ships in order to fly.
It's like having a bus with no seats in it.
But the even scarier thing is at the end of the Cold War, we had 51 destroyers and frigates. Now we only have 17. I mean, that's a wrap just from the 90s to today.
Yeah.
We're severely depleted. And it calls into question now. Our enemies are going to see our inability to send a single ship to Cyprus.
Yes.
We've had the French grandstanding in Cyprus. I mean, that sticks in the craw above all else. But what's that going to mean for the Falkland Islands?
Yes.
For our British overseas territories around the world? Or even for Gibraltar? If we can't even send a single ship for a month.
I mean, the
somewhere.
Spanish could now literally walk across the little, border down at Gibraltar and just take it over. Yeah. And there'd really be very little that the British Navy or any gunboat diplomacy could do about it.
And we can't ask the Americans for help right now because
they're
not inclined to be here.
Not really. But, it's interesting because I was looking at a couple of things that developed overnight, in addition to what Trump has been saying about a new deadline, 10 days, whatever, and whether he's going to allow the Straits of Hormuz to be reopened as long as he's in charge of bits of it. There's talk of another 10,000 US troops being sent to the region, amidst more kind of conversations about a possible invasion of some kind, whether it's Karg Island or whether it's another part of the Straits of Hormuz. And then, of course, another story that I read tangentially to all of this was that because of all of the focus of the Middle East currently being on Iran and possibly on some of the Gulf states and how safe it is to live there, Hamas have been apparently quietly rebuilding themselves in Gaza to the point where, you know, the Israelis are now starting to worry that they've sort of turned their backs a bit on what's happening in Gaza, and that could blow up again.
Yeah, well, you know, the Israelis like to use that phrase, mow the lawn, but I mean, the grass is growing very quickly if that's the case.
Yes.
And my great fear about the whole, the reason I had questions about what they were doing in Gaza was quite simply the fact that you're going to be radicalizing as many people as you are murdering.
Yes.
So you may kill off Hamas's leadership, but how many new recruits have come onto the cause because they're outraged by what you've been doing? Whether or not you agree with what Israel's doing, it's definitely mobilized and definitely radicalized people. In this country, people are more radicalized than they've ever been before because of things like Palestine. So I did wonder actually whether it's a self-defeating purpose that they're doing. As for Trump, I mean, I still think that this is a bluff by sending all these good guys in there because I can't see the American public wanting to see a single American boot on the ground.
I mean, like me, you talk to people on the other side of the Atlantic, and certainly everybody I talk to, for any particular political persuasion, there is absolutely no appetite whatsoever for troops on the ground from America in Iran.
And as you know, you've got the midterm elections coming up. The Republican Party has its smallest ever majority. I think only 2 seats or something it's got there. He's already going to go in for a hammering anyway. It just seems crazy that you would do this now.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, let's do it after the midterm elections when you're on your home stretch before you leave office. I can't see that happening. Usually when there's a war, even if it's unpopular at the beginning, once it starts, the American public get behind the president.
Sure.
This hasn't happened now for the first time. But, you know, we're told that the leader of Saudi Arabia, MBS, he was in favor of this attack on Iran, apparently.
Yeah.
They're getting shelled. The Qataris and the Kuwaitis are getting shelled. Maybe they should put their boots on the ground.
Yes.
Maybe they should do something.
Maybe, and also maybe you've hit on something there, because that possibly is and has been in the past something that NATO have done, haven't they? Where they've decided that, you know, perhaps it's a more localised force which would do better to be kind of bankrolled, if you like, by the West. But to go in under some other auspice, whether it's the UN or whether it's something else. But yeah, I mean, there's no question that there's still. I mean, I was talking to my daughter this morning in Dubai. There's still explosions going off every morning, you know, and luckily not in a fatal kind of a way. But it's pretty unnerving for people living there.
Yeah, and there are also the Kurds. So there's talk about the CIA supplying the Kurds and so forth. Problem there is, usually you're just like cutting off one head of a hydra, another one pops up.
Yeah, well, the
You've then
problem
got
with
a
giving
fully
the
armed
Kurds,
militia of the Kurds.
the problem with arming the Kurds is you give the Kurds a bunch of weapons and they turn them on you.
Yeah,
And they go,
exactly.
"Thanks very much." You know.
Well, as with the Mujahideen, right?
Yes.
This is exactly what the CIA has done in the past.
Yeah,
so.
thanks very much for all the weaponry. We've got a poll, by the way, going on, and it is, of course, this very, very much in the realm of the shipping area. What would you name a new British warship? Boaty McBoatface, HMS Trump, Toy Destroyer, or the good ship Starmer? It looks to me as though at the moment many of you are going for HMS Trump. Trump, of course, would love that, wouldn't he? I mean, he would probably completely change his view of the Royal Navy if we named a ship after him.
Well, you know, the Americans have the USS Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think now if you want to try to heal the Anglo-American relationship, flatter Trump and name one of those aircraft carriers.
I was
after
hearing
him.
this morning, actually, he's the first sitting president who's now going to get his name on the dollar bill, because normally it's only signed by the Secretaries of the Treasury, which I think is, what's his name? Not Hesketh. Who's the guy? Can't remember his name anyway. The Secretary of State for the Treasury normally would sign it, but because it's the 250th anniversary of the State of the Union, he somehow managed to get the name Trump onto the currency, which only he could do.
In terms of branding,
yeah, and you can
nobody
imagine
knows how to brand better.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone from Trump steaks, right, to which he used to sell, sort of mail order, to the Trump University. Now he's got a name on the actual money.
Trump dollar bills.
Trump dollars.
And for a man who loves money, what could be better?
Yeah, but that's incredible, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. Speaking of money, front page of the Mail today, Rachel Reeves is the real petrol profiteer. With typical sanctimony, our tax-hungry Chancellor accused fuel giants of cashing in on soaring pump prices. But the truth is, basically, according to Kemi Badenoch, she is the most likely recipient of most of the money. More than 50%, of course, of the money you pay at the petrol pump for a litre of petrol goes to the government.
Yeah, and they're talking about bailing out people in need who can't afford their energy bills.
Yes.
Well, I'm terribly sorry. I mean, we're being penalised at the pumps hugely over all this. I mean, you just go over to North America and see how cheap their petrol is compared to ours. You would think now, when you've got this crisis in the Middle East and fuel basically is going through the roof, that they would give us some sort of benefit here.
Yeah. Well, again, we seem to have the most expensive petrol in the world, as well as the most expensive electricity, the most expensive gas. You know, we seem to be leading the world in charging the people, the consumers of this country, more money than anybody else pays for everything.
Because I used to live in Canada. When I came back here, I just couldn't get how everything we're being paid. Even, calling customer services, it was always free of charge in North America.
Right.
Here, something goes wrong with your computer, you have to pay for the liberty of speaking to somebody down the line. We're milked. But yes, I don't know what's going on. Why, the SDP, William Clouston, you can ask about this.
Yeah.
He showed that over the last however many years, 20 years, we have spent £3 trillion over the odds on electricity and energy in this country, which is the same sum as our entire national debt.
And most of that money, if I'm not mistaken, goes to these very, very big multinational electricity companies, most of which are not British owned.
Yeah, we're giving it we're giving to the French. The French seem to be benefiting from everything that we're doing these days.
Yeah, and the Spanish, I think, own Scottish Power. It's all very confusing. We don't seem to own anything. It's almost like we've rented Britain out. And we're not even the beneficiaries of the payment that gets made in order to pay those who make money here.
No, we're being asset stripped. When you see it, it's open season now on British industry and British assets. All the foreigners are coming in and buying everything, and it's just such short-term thinking that seems to drive not just this government, but for the last 30 years.
Yeah, it's been hopeless. And there's a report out today as well from the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, slashing its growth outlook forecast for Britain, raising its inflation projection after the Iran war, saying basically Britain will be hit harder than any other advanced economy by the Middle East crisis.
And once again,
Brilliant.
yes, it's always us that seems to get it worse. But this again, I think this is the unintended consequences. I think Donald Trump thought he would be able to secure in Iran something as speedy as he got in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Hasn't been that way, and I think it's going to be the global economy that actually ends up deciding what happens in Iran.
Exactly. Now, one story that I know you'll want to talk about because it happened sort of late yesterday afternoon over at the United Nations in New York, where it was ruled. Apparently, it's not a binding ruling of any kind, but the vote was taken in the UN chamber over whether reparations should be paid by Britain and other kind of empirical powers, if you like, for slavery reparations. And I've got a piece here that's in the Telegraph, I think, online. It's not binding, but an awful lot of people sort of getting behind it saying, rah, rah, bravo, Britain, this time you coughed up. So more money goes out of the country to pay for what exactly?
Yeah, so this was a motion by the UN where 127 countries or something like that supported saying that the slave trade was the greatest act of inhumane treatment in history. And that we should pay reparations. 52 nations abstained, including Britain. The only ones to oppose this were the Americans, the Israelis, and the Argentinians.
Yeah.
It's outrageous that the British ambassador there didn't actually oppose this ridiculous motion.
Didn't we abstain or something?
Yeah, we abstained, and the good Lord, show some balls here.
Yeah.
The reality is, the UN is a corrupt joke. It's just run now by these corrupt countries in the South who have no interest in democracy, no interest in human rights. They don't give two hoots about the slave trade.
No.
This is all about a weapon to attack Britain, America, and the West more broadly. But it's crucially, and this is just a cash grab by these countries who are trying to exploit and profit from, sort of naive Western guilt and self-loathing. And it's a way for them to have a scapegoat. How do you explain why your country is a complete failure?
Yeah.
Well, let's just blame it on colonialism and on slavery and deflect attention away from our own catastrophic mismanagement of our economies and our institutions.
And I was watching some analysis of this yesterday afternoon after the decision was made, and it was tabled, of course, at the UN General Assembly by Ghana on behalf of the African Union of Countries. And I was watching this expert talking about it, who said basically the problem with this kind of nonsense, this kind of knee-jerk reaction to an issue which is quite complex, is that you could end up with countries which are taking tax from people who were actually related to slaves, taking their money and paying it to people who actually profited from slavery in the country which is claiming the money.
Well, the audacity of Ghana and Nigeria and Niger and Mali and Chad and Sudan to vote for this, because these countries are the leading criminals when it comes to the modern slave trade. Right?
Yeah.
They're condemning historic slave trade. I think it's far more important to focus on the fact that there are 10 million slaves in Africa today. That's 7 in every 1,000 people. And the audacity of Ghana, I mean, Ghana includes the kingdom of the Ashanti. The Ashantis were the ones who were profiteering from the slave trade.
Yes.
And I actually know the king of the Ashanti, the Asantehene of the Ashanti. I was doing a deal with his son a few years ago.
Right.
This guy's got the largest gold of crown jewels in the world, and they want reparations.
It's
give me
ridiculous,
an
isn't it?
absolute break.
And you'll be pleased to know, of course, that Lenny Henry joins in on this. In his October 2025 book, The Big Payback, he called for £18 trillion in reparations, citing a UN estimate and linking it to ongoing inequalities, while envisioning a 100 to 150-year plan to end racism.
Well, that's the funniest thing he said since 1983.
Yeah, he's suddenly become a comedian again.
That's the thing. I mean, why does anyone listen to what Lenny Henry has to say on anything?
It's
I
true.
mean, it's ridiculous. 17 trillion pounds. That's larger than China's GDP. I mean, what's going to be left? We'll be absolutely bankrupted. So yeah,
Right.
it's complete nonsense. And the problem is with these lovies is they have no idea about all of this. And that's what's increasingly worrying, because they did a poll, actually. YouGov did a poll of British people saying, do you support us paying reparations? And the white population overwhelmingly said no.
Right.
And the black population overwhelmingly said yes. And
Yeah.
why is that? It's because they've been indoctrinated for years now. Everything that people are taught in schools, you see there is that empire, bad, slavery, uniquely British and American, no one else did it. I'm sorry, slavery was universal.
Yes.
Everyone did it. The biggest slave traders were the Africans. You know, for thousands of years, there were more slaves held in Africa than were ever transported over the ocean. The Arabs were doing it for hundreds of years, brutally castrating, if I can say that at this time of the morning, slaves. Millions of them died. We were only engaged in it for 300 years compared to
And we
thousands
also
of years.
brought it to an end.
And what's unique about Britain was we were the first country in history to deliberately make ourselves poorer in order to advance the moral good. The money we spent on the West Africa Squadron enforcing an end to the slave trade, and none of that gets taught.
No.
And yet, so what's happened now is you have, especially with mass immigration, people coming here who just completely have this perception that Britain is bad and evil, when it's completely the opposite.
Well, indeed. And also, one of the things I always say is that all you've got to do is go to Mayfair or any other part of any other capital city in the Western world to find plenty of slavery being still practiced by many wealthy people living here from the Middle East, for example, who have got Filipinos running around sort of pretty much chained up in the basement, you know, doing all of the sort of the menial tasks that you do around the house. And if you go to the Middle East, I mean, I was in Dubai last year visiting my daughter, and there's bus loads of migrant workers coming in who are sleeping sort of 40 to a room in temperatures of 45 degrees centigrade and higher, dying every single day because they're building the new sort of gleaming sepulchres of the Middle East.
Yep.
But that's slavery as well, isn't it?
There are more slaves alive today than there ever were before. And it's the hypocrisy of the whole thing that really sticks in the craw. And that's why, you know, this isn't about slavery, because if this was really about slavery, if people did care that Black Lives Matter, they wouldn't be worrying about things from 200 years ago. They'd be protesting outside the embassies and high commissions of Cameroon and Nigeria. And what really sticks in my craw is Sadistic Khan, because this is a man who is forever lecturing us.
I love that, Sadistic Khan.
You know, he's always hammering us about the slave trade. You know,
Yeah.
and he wants a slavery museum in this country. He wants a slavery memorial in London. And he's always telling us he's the son of a Pakistani bus driver.
Yes.
Pakistan is the global centre of modern-day slavery.
Yeah.
And he went there on an official visit as mayor. Not once did he raise the issue of modern-day slavery.
Funny that.
But he's always hectoring us about the thing.
Oh, of course.
Complete
Well, we've got
hypocrites.
a nice little a video to play with him in a moment. But let me just point this out to you. This meeting, which was held yesterday in the UN, was held after a previous meeting in Accra in 2025, a meeting organised by Ghana's president, John Mahama. But it was also supported by the Open Society Foundation, which happens to be an international fund founded by George Soros, the Hungarian billionaire.
But he's got his fingers in everything.
He has.
And the other thing that you got to say here is people talk about, well, you know, all the evils of colonialism, poor Ghana, poor Africa, look at the state it's in.
Right.
The reality is, before the British came to Africa, before the Europeans came to Africa, life expectancy was 25 to 30 years. It had been for thousands of years.
Yeah.
The Europeans doubled life expectancy in Africa. And if you want to decolonize these places, that doesn't just mean kicking out whitey. That means getting rid of your hospitals, your medicine, your sanitation, all your electricity power stations, your universities, your police, your parliament, everything else. That's the stuff that we brought to those countries, and I think it's about time we started celebrating the fact that colonialism and capitalism actually increase the world's living standards and life expectancies.
Yeah, absolutely right. A couple of super chats coming in, by the way, if you wish to throw some of them up. There's one here from Jeff in the US of A, who says, Mike's hair looks like a wig Bugs Bunny would wear in a cartoon where he conducts an orchestra. Cheers from the USA. Well, thanks for that. Well, actually, bizarrely, today is the day that I'm going to get my hair cut. We're going to get it done. It's not quite live on air. We're going to do it during Plonk of the Week, which you must join us for one day, actually, where we have a little wine tasting going on. It's a bit early in the morning for people sometimes, but you know, if you have one of those late nights, you just want to carry on. So we'll have Chris Walkie coming in, but also Dan, the hairdressing man, is popping in from Oldham. He's coming all the way down here to cut my hair, so we'll be doing that. Every Muslim country, says Kiki, voted to bankrupt the UK last night. So did China and Russia. Only America, Israel and Argentina voted against the UN witch hunt. Well, we can't really take anybody to task for it since we actually didn't vote against it ourselves. France and Britain actually abstained, which is insane, isn't it?
Weak as water. I can't believe that we would actually abstain from that. It's time we stood up. I don't even know whether the Tories, I would like to think that Kemi Badenoch would actually vote against it.
Yes.
But the whole of Europe, only 3 countries voted against this. I think this is why the West is at its weakest point. When the West was dominant in the world, we were self-confident, self-assured, assertive, we knew who we were. Now we're navel-gazing, we're wearing horsehair shirts and self-flagellating about our perceived guilt of the past. And no wonder we're in the state we're in.
I know, absolutely right. We've got a little award ceremony. Oh, hang on, she's going out. She's going to get the guests. All right, well, we won't do that. We'll talk about instead the state of Keir Starmer and Morgan McSweeney and that whole kind of scenario which is going on, because there's still, on the front page of the Telegraph today, a further story where basically we're being told, we're expected to believe the most ridiculous sort of narrative that we've been given over the course of the last several days, right? Keir Starmer was in Helsinki yesterday explaining that, he thought it was a bit rich of anyone to expect us to know, or for him to have known, that if somebody's phone gets stolen, at some point in the future, somebody might want to know what was on it. Well, it's not that ridiculous, because surely to God, if you've got a government phone, and I think it's legal to have a government phone backup, you cannot have a government phone that is not being backed up, surely.
Yeah, but actually, look, the point is, the timeline here is just, everything here stinks, because it was September that he was arrested first, Mandelson. It was September that they were first looking into all of this. It was October that he got his phone nicked. Mysteriously. Yeah. And in September, there was talk about getting access to Mandelson's electronic messages.
Right.
So I'm sorry, this is far too convenient. And my God, if you are the chief man to the Prime Minister at number 10, and your phone gets stolen, and you call the police, you know the police don't investigate stolen phones. So that's the time you say, actually, I'm Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister.
Yes.
This is a phone that's got the Prime Minister's number on it, and God knows who else's number on this. None of that was said here, because he didn't want, I think, to have an investigation into any of this.
Well, if you were a cynic, you would say that phone call was made deliberately so that it could be put on the record that the phone was stolen. And funnily enough, yesterday in Helsinki, we'll play the clip later, Keir Starmer uses that exact sort of reasoning, where he says, well, of course he did the right thing. He reported it stolen to the police, and there's the proof that it was stolen. That's not proof that it was stolen. There's proof that a phone call was made to say it was stolen. Doesn't mean it was, does it?
And was there any attempt, because I'm sure all government phones have a tracker on them, was there any attempt made to find out where it is? I mean, I've had a phone stolen and I could see exactly where it was.
Me too, same thing. But also, the other bit that is completely and utterly incredulous is that it was not backed up, because everybody knows all you've got to do, when my phone was stolen, as I'm sure you did, is you go and get another phone, and you download everything from the cloud, and you've got all the stuff back. So it's no longer as much of an inconvenience, actually, as it used to be, because all of your apps come back, all of the detail of the WhatsApp messages, all of the email, everything that is in a cloud comes back to your phone, and you can access it.
Yeah, WhatsApp used to get backed up at 2 in the morning, I think, or maybe it still gets backed up every day at 2 in the morning.
Well, you have to physically stop it from backing up, otherwise it just does it automatically.
But the other question that I don't see anyone asking is, of course, normally WhatsApp conversations require somebody at the other end.
Yeah.
So who is at the other? So where's the Prime Minister's phone? Have you looked into the Prime Minister's chats with Morgan McSweeney? Because he should have the other thing.
The Times this morning has got a story saying that Peter Mandelson's private phone has not even been looked at, not even been examined.
Well, that's the point I was going to say. At what point did they not think it was appropriate to look into Peter Mandelson's private phone? They've only looked at his work phone. I mean, I would assume that's where the real conversations are happening with Morgan McSweeney, because they were chums. He was a mentor to McSweeney as well. And you know, if I was Mandelson, I would have basically just gone through and deleted what I can from my phone now.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of telling the world we're going to go for your phone, giving him all the time in the world to do what he can to delete it?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, Kemi Badenoch's in the Telegraph today saying the story of Morgan McSweeney's stolen phone doesn't add up. And she's basically urged Sir Keir Starmer to come clean about the theft. I don't know, Charlotte, if we can do the clip from Helsinki. This is Keir Starmer, first of all, explaining why he says he couldn't have been expected to know that the phone being stolen would be a problem.
And just finally, critics say that the theft and botched investigation of your former Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney's phone stinks of a cover-up. Can you understand why people are suspicious about his phone being stolen just as the Mandelson scandal was unfolding?
Well, the phone was stolen. It was reported to the police. There's a transcript of the call in which Morgan McSweeney gives his name, his date of birth, the details of the phone, and the police confirm that it was reported. Unfortunately, there are thefts like this. It was stolen, it was reported at the time, and the police have acknowledged and confirmed that that is what happened. And the idea that somehow everybody could have seen that sometime in the future there would be a request for the phone is, to my mind, a little bit far-fetched.
I'll tell you what's a little bit far-fetched, mate. What's far-fetched is the fact that it's not backed up. But why doesn't Beth Rigby ask him that question? But it's not about whether, he's basically hiding behind this idea that, there's the proof that it was reported, fine. There's the proof that it was stolen, not fine. Why doesn't she say, well, where's the bleeding backup, mate?
Yeah, this is a cover-up, right? Let's just call it out for what it is. There's absolutely no question what's going on here. And it's still the audacity of this government and Keir Starmer, who still thinks he's morally superior to Boris Johnson and the Tories. And we went through everything we went through with stupid Partygate and birthday cakes and so forth. This is far worse than all of that. Is. And they still try to pretend, of course, that they are, a cut or two above everybody else in politics. This stinks to high heaven. And the fact that Beth Rigby and others are, just letting him get away without the full grilling that he really needs, I think is also part of the problem.
Exactly right. And they're hiding behind all of this kind of, legal niceties, because that's the only thing Keir Starmer knows, isn't it? He thinks that if a phone call was made to the police and the police recorded that phone call, and therefore that is proof that an event happened. That's like me ringing the police and going, I've just seen a UFO, right? And I've seen a little green bloke getting out of it, and he's gone down into Brixton Station. That is proof that happened. No, it isn't. It's proof that somebody told the police that it happened. It's not the same thing, you complete and utter numpty.
Well, I think there's a lot more from the story still to come.
Yeah. And also, they're covering up for a guy who, let's face it, stands accused of selling government secrets to a convicted paedophile in America who was able to make a large amount of money off that secret on the international money markets.
Yeah. And also, let's remember, Keir Starmer is right at the heart of this too, because he put his own personal reputation on the line. He ignored the due diligence reports from the civil service. He ignored all the warnings about Peter Mandelson's Russian and Chinese company associations as well.
Right.
And I think that's why a lot of this is there, because, of course, it's not just about protecting Morgan McSweeney. This is about protecting Keir Starmer himself.
Absolutely right. Let's have a quick look at the poll, shall we? Because we've got some good nominations and different names coming in, apparently.
We'll go to the names. So.
We go to the names, all right then. Well, let's have a look at some of the names that have come up. We could call the German warship HMS Royal Gravy. That's great. One from Pooch, actually, HMS Naval Gaze, which is not bad. HMS says Scottish Jim. HMS They Don't Like It Upham from Mrs. A. That's a good one. What else you got there? HMS More Lucky Than Dinghy from Irish Wildflower. HMS Mike's Hair. I'm always so obsessed with my hair. I think it looks all right. I don't even want to get it cut. I never do. HMS Legal Process. UK Revolution, HMS U-Turn, that's a great one, Simon. HMS effing Audacity, Carla, thank you, I nearly said the word there. HMS Gullible Voters. I've got another one here, HMS Bend Over. I don't know what that's about. HMS Pork Pie, HMS Growler. One for the Northerners there. So I mean, there's all sorts of things going on. But can we have the actual poll though as well? Because the poll question is: what would you name a new British warship? Boating with Boatface, HMS Trump, toy destroyer, or the good ship Starmer? So far, it looks like HMS Trump is winning because, as we were saying earlier, that would be the way to get Trump back on side, wouldn't it, with the British military? If you give him a ship named after himself. Now, a couple of final stories for you. Just before we let you go back to bed, because I know this is where you're heading. We've got a great one from the BMA, British Medical Association, right? They're asking for 26% of a pay rise for doctors, or else they're going to go on strike. I think they're going to go on strike again soon, the junior doctors. But they're only offering their own staff in the British Medical Association 2.75%.
You can't make it up.
You can't, can
the
you?
hypocrisy here.
Right.
You know, they've already received resident doctors a 29% pay rise since 2023. So they're getting paid £12,000 more than they were 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And they still want 26% increase. That's outrageous. But yeah, as you said, 2.7% is all they're giving to their own guys. I mean, it just shows you that the unions, are taking us all for a ride here. They know how difficult things are for the economy. They know that these things are completely unaffordable. They're facing the same pressures that every company and the government is facing globally. But when it comes to actually their own boys, and suddenly all of those understandings go out the window.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. And finally, front page of the Telegraph and the Mail, a doctor in the NHS, Dr. Rame Aladwan. You might have come across this woman before. She's the doctor who has been previously said to have been encouraging people to support Hamas, effectively. She's a resident doctor, but she's made inflammatory social media posts and has now been charged with 4 counts of inviting support for Hamas. So she's likely to be, hopefully, kicked out of the NHS, but she's now facing a trial coming up. So she's been charged with 1 count of publishing or distributing written material to stir up racial hatred in relation to an incident on November the 19th last year. Also accused of using words to stir up racial hatred on King Charles Street in the Westminster area of central London. So that's your local NHS for you. Should we give her a round of applause? Well done, dear. Thank you very much indeed.
But there are a shocking number of these people in our health services, as nurses and doctors and so forth. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, why do the Jews need their own ambulances? They had these 4 ambulances all burnt down. Well, one of the reasons they want to have all of this is because they're not sure they can trust and rely on the NHS because they've heard from people saying we're not going to be treating anyone who's Israeli, or we're giving them substandard treatment. They won't know, but we're not going to be giving them their own medicine and everything else.
But even without the bias against Jewish people, the chances of you getting an ambulance when you want one pretty slow and few and far between. And also the ambulances, even though they're run by a Jewish charity, are actually available to everyone. And they will ferry anyone who needs to be ferried in an ambulance in one of their vehicles.
Oh yeah, and the Salvation Army, St John's Ambulance, the Red Cross, they all have their own private ambulances as well, and long have, to serve everybody. Right,
and so that is a slightly disingenuous thing for people to go, why have the Jews got their own ambulances? I mean, it's ridiculous. We've got loads of other little clips to show you. We've got one of Sadiq Khan raving on about how great London is, which is, for those of us who live in London, not entirely truthful. We've got Starmer talking about beating himself up. Best news of the day. Apparently, it's been said before, I think Stephen Barrett puts this line out, that he suffers from some humiliation fetish, that he actually likes being humiliated on the world stage. He likes being beaten up by everyone from right, left and centre.
Well,
and now he's admitting he beats himself up.
He must be getting pleasured every day then.
He does, absolutely right. Rafe, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Rafe Hardle-Mancu, a man from the New Culture Forum, absolutely brilliant. We've got much more to do. Marilyn Hawes is here, Lee Harris is here as well. We're going to be talking later on to Andrew Bridgen, who's going to be coming on, and of course Nigel Evans as well. We've got much more to do. We've only just started, really. It's coming up to 7:38. Let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning and welcome to Friday. My name is Edward Hughes with your news. While the world holds its breath over the Iran situation, Donald Trump is calling our aircraft carriers toys and graciously postponing strikes on Iranian energy sites, because nothing says special relationship like public humiliation from your biggest ally. Back home, Keir Starmer apparently hates the fact he appointed Peter Mandelson as US ambassador. Shocking. A controversial pick from Labour turning into a headache? Who could have predicted that? MPs are demanding the government urgently apologise for historical forced adoptions, because saying sorry costs nothing and fixes everything. Meanwhile, new advice warns under fives should have at most 1 hour of screen time a day. Good luck enforcing that when half the parents are doom-scrolling war updates on their phones. Oh, and an NHS doctor has been charged with stirring up support for Hamas, because that's exactly what the health service needed right now. Stay safe out there, or at least stay sarcastic. The UK's got this? Probably. And just to say, Charlotte, you're doing a super job. See you next week, Monsieur Pooch. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, tigers.
Thank you very much indeed, Edward Hughes there with the news. I've got a couple of super chats coming in. One that says, wouldn't it be covered? This one comes from America, but I've lost it now. But would it not be the case that there would be some CCTV coverage of Morgan McSweeney having his phone nicked? Well, there are several questions that you would ask if you were a police officer investigating the so-called theft of an item. One, why did you allow the police to record the place where it happened wrongly and then not correct them when they repeated it back to you? Basically, they said, so you're in Stepney then? Thinking that he was in Belgrave Street in Stepney. And he went, yes, when in fact he was in Mayfair. So, or Belgravia or something like that. Would there not be CCTV footage of the theft that it happened on the street? Says Judas Goat. Yeah, well, we're supposedly the most CCTV covered city in the entire world, but nobody's got any CCTV of this, right? Rafe should be a culture and history MP to stop the BS woke history being pushed. Either that or Prime Minister. Yeah, David, thank you very much for that. Let's have a quick look, shall we? Because Keir Starmer once again disappeared yesterday and went off to Helsinki for some god. Nobody knows why, but basically to get out of Britain, presumably, and to avoid being asked any awkward questions about anything. But here he is talking to Beth Rigby from Sky. Actually, no, we've done that one, haven't we? What we want to do is the one where he's talking to Beth Rigby about beating himself up. Have a look at this.
Nobody has been harder on me in relation to the mistake I made there than me. And I'll tell you for why. I've spent years trying to deal with violence against women and girls. And as I look back at it now and the mistake I make, I've been really hard on myself. In the immediate days after this all came out, I was particularly hard on myself. So, yeah, everybody else was criticising, I guess all that. But nobody was criticising me more than myself. I'm not trying to, make that a mitigation or an excuse, but I know I made a mistake.
I can see that you feel that.
I know that after nearly 20 years fighting violence against women and girls, I made a mistake there. And I hate the fact I made that mistake. And I dwell on it. I beat myself up about it. It's certainly not a mistake I'd ever repeat. But there's no criticism anybody else can level at me that will be as harsh as the criticism I've dished out for myself.
He's just a ridiculous figure now. Lee Harris is here. Lee, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
He's a ridiculous figure now, isn't he? Sitting there, he's like, he now even looks like he's too small for the chair. He's like, his knees are kind of, his feet are kind of dangling, because he's so short and weird looking. He just looks weird, doesn't he?
Nobody
beats me up more than I do. Beat myself up every day.
He's the worst Prime Minister we've ever had.
Yeah.
I couldn't even bring myself to watch that clip, Mike.
It's awful.
Because you kind of know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
And I can't get out of my head the fact that I'm sure we all remember Partygate and how every day, every single newspaper, every single news broadcast was focusing on a bit of cake.
Yeah.
And yet here we have Keir Starmer, who, let's face it, is perpetuating a failed lie.
Yeah.
He can't even get that right. He can't even lie properly.
No.
It fell apart instantly for me because the first thing I thought was, well, hold on a minute. When you send texts to someone, so if I was to send you a text, Mike, and I lost my phone, you're going to have a copy of all of our texts.
Exactly.
So why isn't
anybody...
Also,
pop quiz, so are you. You've just got to go into a shop and get another phone.
Exactly.
And then they download all the stuff from the cloud, and there it is.
There's an answer for every single possible scenario.
Yeah.
I.e., like mine are all backed up on my laptop anyway, because I use WhatsApp on my laptop. So as soon as I get in and I'm in my office, all my messages are on my computer.
And this apart from the fact, by the way, that if it's a government phone, by law, it has to be backed up.
Exactly.
Why is nobody asking him that?
And we've had what?
Death Rigby as I like to call him, is sitting there going, oh, yes, I can see that you're really upset. I don't care if he's upset. I don't care if he's beating himself up. Get to the truth, man.
He should have resigned a long time ago. And to be honest, this isn't the first scandal that should have brought him down. But so many things have gone wrong. I mean, we've heard Wes Streeting not that long ago saying that he uses disappearing messages. I mean, I found that staggering. I've heard a counter-argument, right, where they say that the government doesn't like to use Google servers or whatever to back up their data. But I'm sorry, I'm not buying that.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying the fact that nobody, I think until literally today or late last night, said, well, hold on, where's Mandelson's phone?
Yeah. And now the Times are saying that they haven't even asked for it. His personal phone.
It's just nonsense. And wasn't Mandelson raided? Mandelson was raided. They took all the stuff.
That's one way of describing it.
Yeah. And the
Several
police,
times, I think.
Several times. And the police would have had his phone. Right?
Of course.
So they've already
Yeah, but who's
had...
running this bleeding investigation? Inspector Clouseau. Sorry, what have we got today? Well, we haven't got anything, monsieur. Well, where's St. Peter Malus suspender? We did not ask for it. Oh, OK then, why not?
The lie doesn't work. That's what I found frustrating. If you're going to lie, at least get it right or make it a good one.
Yeah.
There is so...
Don't treat us like absolute idiots.
They're treating us like idiots.
It's incredible.
I find it incredibly insulting.
Yeah, it really is. And also all of these people from Steve Reed down who get trotted out and asked the question, do you actually really believe this story? And they do straight-faced. And I'm sure this is why Steve Reed keeps being sent out there, because he's obviously so dim that he'll say anything the government tells him to say. Whereas most of them, I think people like Yvette Cooper, actually, as much as I dislike her, probably doesn't want to defend it because she probably goes, I'll look really stupid.
Yeah.
And even, people
They
like
won't send Rayner out to
Shabana
defend it.
Mahmood won't defend it. But where are all the senior members of the government? All we get John Healey the other day. I know you were commenting on this. In fact, we should play it again, should we not, Charlotte? John Healey on Nick Ferrari's show. This is a guy who was described by many people as the sort of acceptable face of responsible new Labour because he'd been in government before. He even was touting himself as the possible kind of, what do you call it? What do you call it? The sort of commercial, the candidate that will solve all the problems between the left and the right, and that he could step in if Starmer has to step down. But I mean, this is woeful. This is him being asked a question about the number of ships there are in the Navy. I mean, it's not hard. There's not that many of them. You only need 2 hands to count them. And he doesn't know, right? Have a look.
How many frigates do we have in the fleet?
We have 17 frigates and destroyers. It's down from 23 at the end of the last Labour government. And as I say, the number of mine hunters have been cut by more than a half. And so that we can meet not just the threats we face now, but the threats in future.
Mr. Healey, if we've got a fleet of 17 in total, where are they all?
Well, every nation, with every piece of its military kit, has some in operation, some on deployment, some in states of readiness, some being repaired and maintained.
We only have one in operation.
It's a regular rhythm that is common to military planning. But
we only have HMS Dragon in operation down there now. Where are all the others? Are all the others being repaired in some way, shape, or form?
I'm proud of what we're able to do. I'm proud of the fact that the forces that we've got have risen to the challenges in the Middle East.
I know, sir, but are they all being repaired, or are they not functioning correctly? 17 vessels. We would have known for months that we were heading this operation in April. Why did it not occur to someone, well, we're going to need one of our warships because we're commanding the operation in April, let's make sure it's available. Why did that not occur to anyone?
We were preparing Dragon for that flagship role.
So we have one warship available because Dragon had to go obviously down to Cyprus.
I have to make decisions based on what we've got.
I mean, it's actually quite terrifying. This is the Secretary of State for Defence, one of the biggest departments of state in the country.
Especially at the moment, the most
Especially
important.
at the moment, right? I mean, there's another clip we'll play in a minute with him on ITV, on Good Morning Britain, with Rob Rinder, being asked about... Because again, and this happened at the weekend, with Steve Reed of all people, trying to describe whether or not we could be hit by an Iranian missile. And, this is a guy, as I said on Monday, who couldn't run Lambeth Council. You bankrupted the place, couldn't organise litter picking, couldn't organise bloody, bin collections. And he's now telling us, oh, don't worry, we don't think the Iranians can hit us with a missile, even though they managed to fire one 4,000 kilometres to the Chagos Islands and hit, almost hit Diego Garcia. But it's quite terrifying that these people are in charge of the country, isn't it?
It is absolutely terrifying. And to be honest, not that it comes as a surprise, though, Mike, I'm not going to lie, because if you look at the talent across the whole of the Labour Party, and I will bring it back to John Healey, but there isn't any talent in the Labour Party at all. But what happened with John Healey, this is not the first time either. There was another interview with Sky not that long ago where he was actually in Cyprus, I believe, and he couldn't answer any of the questions there. I've never seen someone, apart from possibly Diane Abbott. I mean, that interview was Diane Abbott level.
It was.
Terrible. In fact, I think Diane Abbott actually came out better.
Diane Abbott's actually got better lately. I think, you know,
She has,
she
actually.
actually now, or maybe things are so bad, she looks better than she used to look. Because,
she hates Starmer, doesn't she?
Yeah.
So, you know, your enemy of your enemy is your
That's
friend
right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but the calibre of our MPs, especially John Healey, is terrifying. It is. I did laugh, I'm not going to lie, but afterwards you kind of had this moment where you think, where it sinks in, you think, this guy's in charge of our defence.
Right.
And especially at the moment where if he can't even... I mean, I saw a story in the Telegraph this morning that said he's withholding, and this annoyed me as well, because I've heard from other people who've said that John Healey is actually quite a nice guy.
Yeah.
Right?
I hate that, though. I don't care whether
that.
he's a nice guy.
I don't care
I couldn't
either.
give a monkeys.
No, couldn't give a monkeys either. But at least with that, you think he'll at least talk and listen to other people, right? As a function, as a human being.
Yeah.
He might be able to do that. Well, apparently he's hamstering all the information and all the budget details about the defence because he's an independent-minded minister. So,
Really?
so he's not even really talking or communicating to people either. I'm like, mate, you need to talk to people.
Yeah.
If you don't even know how many frigates we've got.
Yeah.
I mean, he was way out, apparently.
He was.
Yeah.
Well, because the Mail have actually done a really good graphic here. We've got 6 Type 45 destroyers. One of them's operational.
Yep.
That's HMS Dragon, which is somewhere in the Eastern Mediterranean. It took them 3 weeks to get it there. Yeah. Because you know what they did? And I was told this a couple of weeks ago. When they moved it out of Portsmouth, just to get it out of the way, they basically anchored it off the coast of Cornwall for about a week and a half while they were still refitting it. So they weren't even telling us the truth about that because they were like, oh, it's on the way, yeah. But it wasn't on the way. It was actually stuck somewhere off the Scilly Isles because they hadn't quite decided what to do. 5 Astute-class submarines, 1 operational, and then you've got 7 Type 23 frigates, only 3 of which are operational. So, you know, it's ridiculous. And looking at the 2 aircraft carriers, HMS Queen Elizabeth being refitted, HMS Prince of Wales undergoing maintenance.
Yeah.
Look, and as Rafe said, only one of them can have planes on it.
That is ludicrous. I mean, we can't blame the Labour Party completely for this.
No.
You can also blame the Conservatives.
Well, they're to blame as well, yeah.
Absolutely.
They don't get a pass from me.
Yeah, but Labour have been in office in 18 months.
Right.
They could have made a point of criticising the Conservatives, saying, you know, big time, shouting about it, saying, this is the situation we're in, this is what we're going to do about it. They've done nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. And to send that destroyer down, what was it, 3 weeks late, I mean, it's global embarrassment. And then on top of that, after you said that we found out that the Iranians can get a missile 4,500 kilometres, thankfully, Mike, I'm in the West Country, right? So I'm right on the edge.
So you'll be all right.
I might just get away with it.
Yeah.
But the point
is... Well,
is...
you mean it won't get past Reading?
Hopefully not. Hopefully it'll hit Birmingham. But no, sorry, Birmingham. I love Birmingham. But no, the point is we also found out that we haven't got any ability to intercept at all a ballistic missile.
No.
That's shocking.
Although, if you listen and watch to what some of these people are saying, this was the Steve Reed line on Sunday. He said, "Oh, we've got the capability to defend ourselves." And I'm thinking, hang on, you can't even stop people coming on dinghies.
Yeah.
How are you going to stop an intercontinental ballistic missile?
Every single major politician for the Labour Party, when they do media, and literally every single one, tells colossal lies.
Yeah, massive.
And we have to call them out as lies.
Totally. Well, let's have a look at Rob Rinder questioning John Healey. This is on, I think, Good Morning Britain yesterday, Charlie. Should we have a look?
You'll be aware that the Israeli Defence Forces, Israel, in fact, say, look, there are missiles that could reach Britain. As I understand it, you say that you have no information on that.
Is it plugged in?
Now, that is quite clear what the Israelis have said. 4 hours is what it would take for those missiles to arrive here.
It does seem to be
are they right? Could those missiles reach Britain?
We've got, I'm just saying to you, and I want to be able to reassure people, we've got no such assessment.
Can you help me understand something, right? If the Israelis have said that, and it's quite clear, it's a public statement by their military, there could only be one reason for that. Either they're lying, they're exaggerating, or they're wrong. Which of it do you say is the case?
We have no assessment of that.
Well, to be fair to Secretary, I hear your answer to that question, but there's no answer to it. It appears that you don't want to say why the Israelis might have said that to you in circumstances where you have no assessment of that kind at all.
No, look, I'm really not going to disclose, and a bit put out that you expect me to do so. I'm not going to disclose the intelligence that we have on the capabilities that other nations have. What I would point out to you is to say that we have strong defences of Britain. They're strengthened by our coordination
I'm not
with
sure
NATO
that was Rob's
allies,
question.
and the
disclosing
extra investment
it.
that we're now putting into air defences for Britain.
I know. I don't think that was Rob's question, though, was it? I think what he was saying is that, you know, we've taken that you've told us that that's not your assessment, and we wouldn't ask you to disclose how that assessment was conducted or where it came from or any details on it. What he's saying is why would they lie to the British government in that way if you're saying it's not true? Or maybe you fear it is true.
And I would simply say to you and your viewers, people can have confidence in the British military that we've got.
I'm sorry, I'm not having that. He wants me to believe that we can have confidence in the British military, right? Which have so far managed to muster one ship to send to Cyprus, which is not where the action is, actually, to defend an air base, which we supposedly don't need to defend because it can defend itself.
Which already got hit by a drone. Was it a drone strike?
It was a drone strike, but it was a mistake. You know, according to our government, the Iranians didn't send it deliberately. They kind of hit us by accident. So I don't know what they were aiming at.
And they're not.
Oh shit! We seem to have hit Cyprus. Sorry. You know what are we going for? You know.
and he's not communicating it either, Mike. They're not telling us anything.
No, but they're lying.
They're lying about
He's
everything.
basically a very simple, straightforward. I know Rob Rinder. He's a good guy, actually. I don't agree with most of what he says about an awful lot of things, but he's a lawyer by training, and so he knows how to ask questions. He's saying to him, look, if the Israeli authorities are telling us that, you know, they've got the capability, the Iranians have got capability to hit Britain with an intercontinental ballistic missile, I would tend to believe the Israeli military, right? Because they're quite good at it.
Absolutely.
Now, he was asked a straightforward question. If you don't think that they're telling the truth, why would they say it? Yeah. And he wouldn't answer the question.
And you're right, I'm more likely to believe the Israelis than Keir Starmer. But if Keir Starmer or the Labour government say something, the best possible reaction is to think the opposite.
Yeah.
Because
you can't trust them.
No. On every single subject. And this one being obviously one of the most important. I've got to admit, as a military kind of bystander, that I'm a bit of a normie when it comes to the military stuff, probably like a lot of people. It's done nothing but terrify me, finding all of this stuff out. I mean, I knew we had frigates and destroyers that were in service. I don't know anything else about apart from the fact that they've slimmed down our armed forces massively. Again, not just the Labour Party's fault, but what they are doing every single time, along with pretty much every other topic, is blaming the Tories anyway.
Right.
So, you know, Keir Starmer, if he's put pressure on anything, on any policy matter, he just instantly blames the Tories. He changes the subject.
Right.
They've been in power 18 months. They should have done something about this or shouted about it so they didn't look as bad when it came to when it came to now.
Well, I mean, but his approach to everything is the same. I mean, Nigel Farage was speaking last night. They were launching their campaign up in Sunderland, I think it was, Reform. And at Prime Minister's questions, they all walked out on Wednesday because Nigel asked the question, you know, what are you doing about the small boats? You know, you said you were going to smash the gangs, you were going to stop the boats. You know, there's now 1,000 more have come this week. Yeah. Something like 60,000 have come since Labour got in. And instead of answering the question, he went off on some tangent about how council tax has gone up in Northamptonshire.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not the question, mate. Answer the bleeding question.
In my view, Keir Starmer is holding the House in contempt.
Yes.
And actually, I would argue, I mean, we had Sir Edward Lee, the father of the House, raising a point of order, which was good to see at the end of last Prime Minister's questions, where he, you know, said to the Speaker that, yes, we understand, Mr. Speaker, that you aren't in control of the answers, but you can kind of a little bit shimmy along the Prime Minister to attempt to answer the question. And Lindsay Hoyle, in my view, misled the House by omitting the fact that he does have the power, you know, to stop the Prime Minister, to stop proceedings and just say, Prime Minister, would it be okay for you to answer the question?
And he has done it in the past with other Prime Ministers.
Exactly. So after he'd said this, brilliant Twitter sleuths were putting together compilation clips, which I hadn't seen actually, because I had a big rant about this on X.
Right.
And then, the day went on, and then about an hour after PMQs, literally 2 or 3 of these compilation clips came out showing him doing exactly that. Yeah. You know, he should be holding him to account. But this is the same Lindsay Hoyle, by the way, that changed parliamentary proceedings when Keir Starmer put pressure on him, if you remember, when they had the Islamists outside the front of Parliament.
That's right.
Protesting.
Yeah.
He lent on Lindsay Hoyle. Lindsay Hoyle changed the way we do our politics because of pressure from Islamists and Keir Starmer.
Well, do you know, somebody told me yesterday, Charlie, you might remember yesterday, but it was all a bit of a blur, wasn't it? Somebody told me yesterday that after Prime Minister's questions, Starmer and Lindsay Hoyle were seen getting into a car together and heading off to Canterbury, where there was some event or other going on. And I don't know exactly what it was, but they're obviously clearly quite matey, right?
Absolutely.
And also, we're going to be speaking later on in the show to Nigel Evans coming up after the news. So he's, of course, the former Deputy Speaker. And people are always very respectful of the role, and it's a bit like you don't criticise the role of President of the United States of America. So I don't know what we'll get from Nigel in terms of what he can say, but there's no question that the thing that I find most objectionable about Lindsay Hoyle is, one, that he doesn't do his job properly, but two, he goes around the world at our expense, spreading democracy. Right? Yep. While completely stamping on it in his own country.
Well, which kind of leads you to think that's probably why he's being nice to Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
You know, admittedly, it's very hard to get rid of the Speaker. The Speaker is essentially untouchable.
He
you can't
vote him out, can you?
No, well, I think there has to be a vote of no confidence.
Nobody's allowed to stand against him, but I think they should change that.
They absolutely should change that. Because he is clearly very in hock with Keir Starmer. And he's got a very cushy number. There's without a doubt. I mean, he spent hundreds of thousands. I think they spent millions on a marble floor in his residence. I mean, God's sake, these people don't
And also,
even...
he only is spreading democracy to places where they happen to have a Four Seasons beach resort.
Yeah.
You know,
and he's
he
always
doesn't like spreading it to any place poor where he might have to stay in a mud hut, you know.
Why
don't you spread democracy to somewhere where they haven't got any money or a Four Seasons? No chance.
No.
Meanwhile, there is help on the way, though. The last piece of good news I can give you, Angela Rayner is preparing to start a podcast.
Oh, thank goodness.
Called Beyond the Bubble. As she seeks to broaden her appeal before a potential Labour leadership contest. Tory scum! I hope she says that a few times on there, right? Apparently her first guest is Lord Gove, the former Tory cabinet minister. Can you imagine? All right, Michael.
Who's her first guest, sorry?
Lord Michael Gove. Yeah, Michael Gove.
Oh, my goodness me.
Apparently, they both served as housing secretaries, and they recently gave evidence together to the Parliamentary Committee about leasehold reform. Look, there's a picture of them there.
Oh, my God.
Can you see that?
It just amazes me with Angela Rayner. How is she allowed to reinvent herself so quickly? She hasn't even paid the bloody
She hasn't
fine
paid the
back.
tax. Well, I keep saying this. I mean, the idea that somehow you owe money to HMRC and, you know, some months later, it's still not been resolved.
And this is the same woman.
You know.
As far as I'm aware, she actually tabled a motion to close a loophole about... Because she got 17 grand payoff when she was sacked.
Did she take that?
Yes, as far as I'm aware. So she took 17 grand. But she actually tabled a motion prior to that to stop ministers taking a payout if they have to resign, you know, under duress or be sacked. And she's the biggest hypocrite. And the fact that we're able to all of a sudden forgive Angela Rayner for this tax thing. It was literally 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And now she's coming back in the fray. I'm thinking, hold on a minute, right? They got rid of Boris for cake. You know, loads of ministers have had to walk for far less. It was Nadeem Zahawi as well. You know, she was very vocal about Nadeem Zahawi.
Yeah.
And rightly so.
Well, look at Lou Haig, right, the former transport minister. She had to resign because she unfortunately reported a phone stolen that wasn't stolen. Now, there's a coincidence.
Maybe she can find Mandelson's phone.
Maybe she's got... we actually did a poll the other day of where do you think Morgan McSweeney's phone is? And most people thought it was up Peter Mandelson's backside.
Oh, no.
Bizarrely. Which it may well be. They're probably not allowed to look there.
Well, the police should be able to.
You'd think, yeah. Excuse me, Lord Mandelson. You should pop in over here. You put the old latex gloves on. The Times has previously disclosed that Angela Rayner's made £100,000 from a combination of speeches.
I heard this.
And the advance on her memoirs. I mean, memoirs? Who does she think she is? Che Guevara?
It's ludicrous.
I was on a motorbike once. I'm not reading that out.
Why is she allowed... I'm sorry, right? Why is it that MPs... And I don't want to downplay Angela Rayner too much because I do want working class people to be in Parliament.
Yeah, it's not about her being working class,
It's not about that. It's not about that. But how is it that Angela Rayner, with her qualifications and her life experience, is now a millionaire so quickly? It does
with about 4 houses.
She's like a property... and she's got all this... What was it she did? She bought that really nice place down in Hove.
In Hove.
Right. How?
I know.
Like, seriously, what is going on?
Right.
It looks, just to the normal person on the street, they've all got their noses in the trough. We started off with the Labour Party with, Keir Starmer and his, what was it, all his
Lord
free
Ali.
gifts and
Yeah.
Lord Ali.
Yeah.
And it turns out, you just couldn't make it up. There's like a league table of all of the MPs about how much they've claimed.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer's right at the top.
Of course he is.
Angela Rayner's in the top.
Yeah, yeah.
They've all.
Well,
they're
she
all
had the
doing
free
it.
holiday in New York, didn't she, in Lord Ali's
Yeah,
flat?
I'd forgotten about that.
Right, where she took the boyfriend, had a great time, lovely, no problem at all. In that building overlooking Central Park. I mean, it's just ludicrous. Anyway, listen, by all means, hang around, Lee, if you wish to.
Sure.
We're going to speak to our next guest, Nigel Evans, coming up very shortly. Also, Marilyn Hawes. I've got a good story for you, Marilyn, actually, because the piece in the why don't you laughing? It's a serious one, actually. It's a story. It's about more inefficiency in the government, in the Home Office. Apparently, the Home Office have made such a mess of the grooming gangs inquiry that they now think that they've lost a load of evidence.
Oh, don't.
Because it's taken them so long to ask for it. Unbelievable stuff. But before we do anything, let's have an update on the old... what would you name a British warship if there was a new one made? Boaty McBoatface, 23%. The Toy Destroyer, 16%. The good ship Starmer, 11%. So far, the winner, HMS Trump, 51%, which would probably please him, I wouldn't be surprised. Some super chats. HMS Compromised, says Wayne, that's good. Any more of those coming in? HMS Gender Neutral Illuminati, confirmed, from Al. HMS Compromised again. We've done that one, I think. HMS Cookold. That's good. Quite like that one. HMS Self-Flagellation, says Mary. Yep, that's very good. I beat myself up every day. I wonder how you. HMS Captain Mannering, says Ruth. That's all good. Super chat from Ray, watching from North Korea. What? Great show. The weather's great here in Pokemyung. I think you're joking, aren't you? There isn't really anyone in North Korea watching. But if you are, I mean, it's probably better than it is here. Weakened armed forces, then join a Euro defence force, says John. Yeah, but they're no better, are they? Why does anything matter? Why should things matter? Techno might. That's a bit philosophical for this time of the morning. And one from Dr. Vested. Good morning, everyone. The UK armed forces seem to be as bad as the Swedish one right now. I speak from experience as I'm from Sweden. Okay. All right, I didn't know the Swedes had as of an army, really, to be honest. I know the Norwegians are quite good. The Norwegians were really good in Bosnia, actually. Mike should grow a man bun, says Wendy. No chance. Absolutely no way. We are getting Dan, the man, to come in this later on during Plonk of the Week to cut my hair. So when you see it next, or when you see it on Monday, it'll be shorter by quite some measure. Right, anyway, shall we get some news with Edward Hughes before we do anything else?
Morning and welcome to Friday. My name is Edward Hughes with your news. While the world holds its breath over the Iran situation, Donald Trump is calling our aircraft carriers toys and graciously postponing strikes on Iranian energy sites, because nothing says special relationship like public humiliation from your biggest ally. Back home, Keir Starmer apparently hates the fact he appointed Peter Mandelson as US ambassador. Shocking. A controversial pick from Labour turning into a headache? Who could have predicted that? MPs are demanding the government urgently apologise for historical forced adoptions, because saying sorry costs nothing and fixes everything. Meanwhile, new advice warns under fives should have at most 1 hour of screen time a day. Good luck enforcing that when half the parents are doom-scrolling war updates on their phones. Oh, and an NHS doctor has been charged with stirring up support for Hamas, because that's exactly what the health service needed right now. Stay safe out there, or at least stay sarcastic. The UK's got this? Probably. And just to say, Charlotte, you're doing a super job. See you next week, Monsieur Pooch. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Edward Hughes, thank you very much indeed with the news there. Yeah, Charlotte is doing a great job. Did you want to do the spinning plates thing? Have you got that? Which is quite funny. Now, before we speak to Nigel Evans, our next guest, about what's going on in the world and what's going on in Parliament in particular, let's have a look at Sadiq Khan, or Sadistic Khan, as he's called by Rafe Heidelmann-Koo, because he apparently won an award yesterday, London, as a city, and this is what we won it for.
Big news, London. We've just won the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize. This prestigious prize is for the city, leading the way to tackle urban challenges and create vibrant and sustainable communities for all to enjoy. This award is a tribute to our innovative work over the last 10 years to build a safer, fairer, greener and more prosperous city for all Londoners. From our bold efforts to tackle toxic air pollution, to launching the iconic Elizabeth line, getting more businesses to pay the London living wage and providing over 100 million free school meals to young Londoners. I'm proud of the work we've done, at the same time as championing our city's incredible diversity and our values of openness, opportunity and progress. I'd like to thank the team behind the Lee Kuan Yew Prize for this recognition, and to thank each and every Londoner for playing your part in this incredible story and making our capital the greatest city on earth.
Yeah, who knew there was a Lee Kuan Yew Prize for anything? You know, he was, of course, the leader of Singapore. Some say a rather controversial leader of Singapore. I'm surprised in a way that Lee Kuan thought he was good. But there we are. Let's talk to the Right Honourable Nigel Evans, who was, of course, the Deputy Speaker in the House of Commons. And a very good morning to you, Nigel. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, we have to start, I'm afraid, with old Lindsay Hoyle and the criticism that he's facing at the moment. I mean, you've done that job, so you know, I'm sure, that it's not easy to do, and I don't wish to be unkind to him. But he does seem to be slightly, shall we say, reluctant to press the Prime Minister to answer questions. I think the last time Keir Starmer answered a question was about 1958 or something.
Yeah, I was at
it was his mum saying, you're coming in for dinner.
I was at a meeting with Kemi Badenoch earlier this week, and she was joking that she said, I'm going to do Prime Minister's questions tomorrow, and I think I'll just ask him, do you know what your name is? And see if I can get a straight answer from him. The reality on the Speaker that's very interesting, he literally does not have the power to say to, let's say it's the Prime Minister, Prime Minister, you've just been asked a question about Peter Mandelson. You now must answer about Peter Mandelson. Ministers, including the Prime Minister, are responsible for their own answers. And it's then up to everybody else to work out exactly whether the Prime Minister is being either truthful or accurate, or whether he's deflecting. I mean, we saw that wonderful question just over a week ago from Andrew Snowden, the Tory MP for the Fylde in Lancashire, who literally, thinking on his feet, said, Prime Minister, you were asked a question about Mandelson. You answered about Iran. You were asked again about Mandelson, but you then referred to the Shadow Justice Secretary. You know, it went on and on and on, and it was quite obvious, and everybody just loved it because basically Andrew Snowden was enunciating whatever the frustration for everybody.
Yes,
is that, listen, Prime Minister, you've just been asked a direct question. Why don't you try answering it?
Yeah.
And just to correct Lee as well earlier on, to say that it's impossible to get rid of a speaker, it's not. Michael Martin was Speaker of the House of Commons famously during the expenses scandal, and he handled it so badly that basically he'd lost. If you remember, there were early day motions down in Parliament about lack of confidence in him. And in the end, the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition basically tapped him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I actually remember seeing Michael Martin. I was walking down the shadow cabinet corridor, which overlooks the entrance to Speaker's house. And that's where the Speaker has his car parked. And I looked down this day, and I could see the assistant to the Speaker with the Speaker putting his suitcase in the boot of the car. And I thought, that's a bit strange. They shook hands and off went Michael Martin.
Yeah.
Normally, when they retire, they make a big announcement in the House of Commons. They do a parade where all the staff applaud them on their last day. There was none of that for Michael, and basically he left in shame. So there are ways, if you are not doing your job properly, there are tools where you can actually get rid of a
Although,
speaker.
was he not actually kind of involved in some way? Did he not claim for some things that he shouldn't have been claiming for as well? So he was kind of mixed up in the expenses scandal to some extent. And John Bercow as well. He was not sort of forced out, but he kind of was persuaded out, wasn't he?
And now apparently earning a decent salary doing lots of various things. So it's not just Angela Rayner, Mike, that's
No, in fact, I did a show with John Bercow at the Edinburgh Fringe a couple of summers ago. Alex Salmond organised it, and he played the role of the speaker in a kind of a debate where it was me and David Davis against Alex Salmond and Mick Lynch from from the rail unions, and the only guy that wouldn't join us for dinner afterwards was Mick Lynch.
Well, to be honest, I've not seen John Bercow since he left the House of Commons. This second job lark, I got to say, for a lady who was totally opposed to second jobs before, now she's got about 3 jobs. Well, of course, she had multiple houses, and that's where the rot set in there.
You've got one job for every house. You know, still got another job to get, basically. But
yeah, this
amazing
podcast thing is raking in yet more money. I mean, it's incredible.
I know, staggering. Let's talk about the phone situation, though, because Times today's got a story saying, and I know you've been tweeting about this, Peter Mandelson's personal phone has not even been examined by the police. We've got, I don't know whether you believe the story or not. If you do, I may have to change my view of you. But the idea that we're supposed to buy that Morgan McSweeney had his phone nicked, never had any backup on it, and now doesn't know what to do about not being able to retrieve the messages that was on a government phone. I mean, it's right to say, I think, isn't it, that if you have a government phone, of course it's supposed to be backed up. How can it not be backed up?
I think it says a lot about the credibility of this government when you're in a situation where over 200 mobile phones are stolen every day in London.
Yeah.
And so Morgan McSweeney offering the excuse that his phone has gone missing should be acceptable to everybody. I haven't spoken to one person yet who believes his phone was stolen. You've even got a Labour MP, Carl Turner, tweeting that, and he calls him McSwindle, that he doesn't believe that the phone has been stolen. So it actually, this is at the very crux of the belief in government these days, that now nobody believes that whilst it's incredibly likely that you'll get your phone stolen in London if you're on it, and somebody on a bicycle will come and get and remove it from your hands, nobody believes that that is the case. And the real problem for McSweeney is that the transcript by the Met, between McSweeney and the police, at no stage did he say, well, he did say it was a government phone.
Yeah.
He didn't say, by the way, I am the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. There'll be a lot of sensitive stuff on that phone. Can you sharply look into this matter for me? He didn't.
Yeah.
He just said it's a government phone. He even got the area where it was stolen wrong by about 5 miles.
Yes.
Everything about it stinks, and that's part of the
problem.
problem.
Well, I'm going to put this to you, right? How about the phone didn't get stolen at all, but somebody in Downing Street said, here's what you do, because we've now got some problems with this character Mandelson, why don't you tell them, in case they come looking for your phone, that your phone's been stolen. And that way, when they do come looking for your phone, you can say, oh, look, I reported it, because this is exactly what Keir Starmer has said yesterday when he was up at Helsinki. I don't know why he went to Helsinki. But have a look in a minute at his explanation. Charlotte, can you manage to play old Starmer in Helsinki, talking about, you know, why he now, I mean, I don't know what kind of lawyer this guy is, right? But he basically thinks that because it was reported stolen, it must have been stolen. You know, thanks Dixon of bloody Dock Green. Have a look.
And just finally, critics say that the theft and botched investigation of your former Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney's phone stinks of a cover-up. Can you understand why people are suspicious about his phone being stolen just as the Mandelson scandal was unfolding?
Well, the phone was stolen. It was reported to the police. There's a transcript of the call in which Morgan McSweeney gives his name, his date of birth, the details of the phone, and the police confirm that it was reported. Unfortunately, there are thefts like this. It was stolen, it was reported at the time, and the police have acknowledged and confirmed that that is what happened. And the idea that somehow everybody could have seen that sometime in the future there would be a request for the phone is, to my mind, a little bit far-fetched.
Forensic.
He finds it far-fetched. What about the rest of us? You know, there's a great
It's
super
forensic.
chat.
It's
I've got-
forensic.
yeah.
Thank goodness he was director of public prosecutions when nothing came across his desk that
No, exactly.
was a problem.
Right.
I mean, I also love the fact that Starmer's standing in front of a ship there. He's probably gone to Helsinki to look at what a ship looks like. You've asked for suggestions of the name of a ship. How about HMS Invisible?
Very good. I've got
Because
this
that sums up. It just sums up the Royal Navy at the moment. It's embarrassing.
I know. This sums up the mood of the nation, right? This is from Voice for England. McSweeney's phone was nicked by Amelia Earhart, taken to Narnia, stashed with Excalibur, the WMDs from Iraq, and Jimmy Hoffa. Bring on 2029. I mean, that's the level of credibility that this government has got now.
Mike, one of the early scandals, you mentioned it earlier with Lee, was Louise Haig's missing phone.
Yeah.
And she reported it stolen, so therefore it must have been stolen until it wasn't stolen.
Yeah, and in fact, the real clue, this is how clever these government ministers are, the real clue about the fact that it wasn't stolen was that she reported it stolen using the stolen phone. Right? So they went, hang on a minute, we've got this message from you from the phone that you say was stolen. Huh?
Yeah. I think now the police, the Met, should be really interested in what's happened to the stolen phone. I know normally they don't bother turning up to stolen phones because there's just simply too many of them. A mate of mine had his phone stolen and tracked it down on his computer and told the police this is where the phone is, and they still wouldn't turn up.
No. Well, I mean, I imagine that also he probably had it backed up, didn't he?
Well, it should have been backed up. But now we're learning news that even Peter Mandelson's private phone hasn't been looked at. Well, I'm afraid it all needs to be looked at. We need to see all the messages. Where Streeting was able, wasn't he, to produce some WhatsApp messages between himself and Peter Mandelson. But part of the problem is with WhatsApp that they use a very sophisticated disappearing message encryption system, which clearly you should not be using on government phones.
No.
There should be a trail. When in the previous government, I think there was, it may have been Suella Braverman that was using private email addresses, and there was fury about it because they said, no, there has to be a trail. And in this case, of course, very conveniently, the trail has gone dry. And why? Because the phone has gone missing. And it is very, very convenient. It's not far-fetched, Prime Minister, if you're listening to this programme from Helsinki. It's not far-fetched at all because even one of your own members of Parliament, Carl Turner, thinks that it's not been stolen, and I haven't spoken to a single person yet who doesn't believe that that phone has been deliberately put somewhere or it's disappeared conveniently. That's all the people that I talk to believe that that's what's happened.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody else would get away with it. Nobody in the real world would get away with that kind of excuse. It's absolute nonsense. You know, the dog ate my homework. Next, Rachel Reeves would go, the dog's eating the budget. You know, so I can't. Yeah, I wish somebody would eat her actually, and then maybe she would just disappear. But you know, we're told this morning that we are now going to be the worst recipients of this economic crash, which is coming across the world, because our kind of ability to withstand economic pressure is less than everybody else's. All of our petrol prices are higher, our heating prices are higher, inflation is going to be worse. You know, why is Britain in such a bad way?
Well, you can look perhaps no further than number 11 Downing Street and also The Madness of Miliband. It's a great Netflix movie there in the making, The Madness of Miliband, because of his obsession with net zero. So we are paying more for energy than our competitors in the rest of the world, but of course our biggest competitors in the European Union, and we're just paying a lot more for our energy. At the same time, you've got a Chancellor of the Exchequer who is hell-bent on putting as many burdens onto entrepreneurs and businesses as you possibly can. So for all the entrepreneurs that are still in the United Kingdom, because as you remember over the last 12 months, Mike, 16,000 millionaires and billionaires have left the United Kingdom for distant shores where they will not be punished and penalized. They will not be paying huge sums of taxation on their wealth. And instead of which, of course, we've got Rachel Reeves then penalising everybody who's left with increases on employers' national insurance when they said they wouldn't increase them, business rates increases which are eye-watering, particularly if you're in the hospitality trade. If you happen to run a pub, own a pub, and they're closing at the rate of well over one a day now in the United Kingdom, all these extra costs on businesses, and it's no wonder that every month since Starmer took over as Prime Minister, unemployment's gone up, youth unemployment's gone up, and now we've got more than 600,000 extra people who are claiming personal independent assistance, independence payments. 600,000 extra, Mike. These are the long-term.
It's a lot of people, isn't it? Yeah, that's an awful lot of people.
Well, it's bordering on 4 million people that we're paying over £400 billion. 400 billion. I've got to get it right. 400 billion in benefits to people.
Yeah.
And last month, Rachel Reeves borrowed £14 billion, of which 13.4 billion of that went on interest payments for the amounts of money that we're borrowing. Just think about that for a second.
I know.
It's just totally unsustainable.
You wouldn't put her in charge of a whelk stand, would you? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Lee Harris still with me. I don't know if you've got any money left and you fancy going on holiday. That's going to get worse as well. According to the Telegraph today, you're going to face airport delays of up to 4 hours coming up if you go into the EU countries, because apparently you have to be photographed and fingerprinted under this new kind of, border system, the new biometric entry system. I mean, we keep being warned about this. It doesn't always happen, does it? I mean, quite often, for example, when we first left the EU, it was great because whenever I went anywhere, the non-EU queue was completely empty.
Yeah.
And the EU queue was full of all these idiots from the EU.
Yeah.
So you used to actually go through quicker.
And it's completely optional.
Yeah.
The countries that take part in that do not have to do these additional security checks if they don't want to.
Right.
So I see it as kind of a punishment for Brexit.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, Nigel, we've seen this before, haven't we, with some European countries, particularly the French. They love punishing you for leaving the European Union, and they don't have to do any of this, do they?
No, I remember once famously writing to the Portuguese ambassador, because I had to queue up for well over an hour to get into Portugal.
Yeah.
And I said, Ambassador, we are your oldest diplomatic partners. We love Portugal. There's a ton of Brits who've got houses in Portugal. Why don't you allow Brits to do what we allow Portuguese and EU citizens to do, which is to use our e-gates?
Yeah.
Part of the problem, Mike, though, because as you know, I've been to Athens recently, and the queues to get out of Athens, right? This is to get out. I want to go home. The queues there I've experienced it well over an hour. It's because of the new entry and exit scheme that's been introduced by the European Union, and it's not been introduced well. It's been a botched introduction.
Right.
Lee's right, they don't have to do it. They've got the power to suspend it far quicker if they just have the Homeland Security or whatever it is in those countries stamping the passports as quickly as they possibly can. But it's not beyond, you don't have to be Einstein to work out that if you ask everybody who stands in front of one of these Homeland Security people, could you please stand in front of the camera? No, further back. Right, could you put your fingerprints, please, on this screen? No, your left hand. No, your right hand. And all that, right? It takes time.
Yeah, I know.
It takes time.
It's like these people that are standing in a queue to get through security, right? For about 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then they get there, and then they start taking their belts off, and and you're going, why didn't you just do that when you were in the queue, you complete and utter idiot?
No, but you're right. You're right, Mike. The reality is, and during the Brexit negotiations, as you remember, MPs who were Remainers were constantly on the Eurostar, going to Brussels, telling Michel Barnier, please punish us more, make it really difficult for people in the United Kingdom because they have had the audacity in a referendum to decide to leave the European Union. And so I'm afraid there were a lot of people there who wanted Brussels to punish us, but don't worry, Keir Starmer is salami slicing Britain back into the European Union. We will be paying billions of pounds that we haven't got of British taxpayers' money in order to sign up to all the rules and regulations which our Parliament has never passed. I mean, it's appalling what the
It really
is.
And have you seen that long list of stuff, foodstuffs and various other, mechanisms of kind of conduct that we're supposed to buckle under to? I mean, it's as long as your arm. and it covers all sorts of ludicrous things which you wouldn't think needed covering, which is just going to cause problems for people in business, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got all the opportunities for Brexit, and they were badly taken in 2000 in the negotiations, 2016 to 19. We know that because we didn't have a majority in Parliament to get it through. It was only when Boris called the early election, which he managed finally to get through, because we had that useless fixed-term Parliament Act, which prevented him from calling an early election. But he managed to get the election. He got a majority of 80, and then we were able to leave the European Union. But I'm afraid, as I say, I mean, all these advantages that are there, we're told that, for instance, on artificial intelligence, which has got to be the fastest growing area of industry where we need to really get ahead of the game, the European Union is one of the more sclerotic areas around the world with it, because they are heaping on extra rules and regulations. They just don't want to see it advance. Now, we have got the opportunity to really steal a march in it, and we are I think behind the United States and China, we are the third country as far as advancing on artificial intelligence. If we can make advances there, it's going to be great for the United Kingdom. Why can't we do it everywhere else as well? I mean, Britain decided to leave the racket, as I call it, of the European Union. Now we could take those advantages and really start to do aggressive trade deals with everybody around the world. Why should we suck up to the European Union when we import way more of their goods than they ever do of ours? I mean, literally. So they want to punish us. Why? Do you know, I'm a member of like the RAC club in London and the Groucho Club. If they treated me as badly as the EU treat us, I'd sort of want to leave the club, wouldn't you?
You would.
I wouldn't be sucking up to them.
Yeah, no, start punishing you every time you turned up at the front door. You know, take you down for a punishment beating before they let you go and have lunch. You know, yeah, thanks very much.
Some people may like that.
But no, well, Keir Starmer clearly would. He wouldn't have to beat himself up then. He could somebody else could do it. Nigel Evans, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Nigel's nomination for the name of the ship, HMS Invisible, which I think is rather a good one there. Paul says this on the Twitter: "Oh, the irony of Brits having to have their photos taken and a biometric scan to get into EU countries. One word springs to mind: dinghies. What an absolute joke the British people and the British public have become." Nigel, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Speaker of the House. It is a joke, isn't it? I mean, this whole... We seem incapable of standing on our own 2 feet. Starmer doesn't want us to. He wants to kind of be supplicant to the EU, and I'm not having it. I don't think people want it.
No, and this has been a deliberate pattern of behaviour from the people who did not want us to leave the European Union. They wanted to make our lives as difficult as possible, as publicly as possible, so they can, I don't know, in their minds, maybe have another referendum and try and take us back into the European Union. Keir Starmer obviously doesn't care about referendums because he's taken us in through the back door anyway. But it is a disgrace. We should have been matching like for like. If they're going to, that's one of the things that wound me up a little bit. Look, I understood at the beginning it made us look good. If the EU are going to make everyone's life difficult at the borders, right, we're going to show the world that we're not going to do that. We're better than them, right? But we're still doing it, and they're still doing it. I think we need to draw the line and just like for like. If you're going to do that, we'll do that too. Problem is, it's not very good for the economy, and so there is a benefit to us that people move as freely as possible. But I just want to say one thing on the whole AI thing. Nigel is spot on about that. The European Union, with all of their ludicrous kind of bureaucracy, it's going to drag them right down. The problem we've got, and we are quite advanced in AI is quite a demanding of energy.
Yes.
And like with a lot of other things and industries in our country, we're screwed because we're just not competitive enough. No. What is it, 4 times the price of electricity of the US?
Yeah.
It's great that we've got some great minds in AI, but if we physically, it's quite power consuming.
Well, if you set up a data centre, it does 2 things. It sucks all the electricity out of the nearby area and all the water as well, because apparently it needs a lot of water.
I've heard this,
for
cooling.
I don't know whether they're throwing it on. It doesn't sound very advanced, does it?
No, it's cooling. I mean,
some more water for the computer. All right, then. You know.
I mean, there has been some changes. I do work a little bit in AI. There's been some changes recently that have made the energy a little bit more efficient.
Right.
But Elon Musk, he's got one of the biggest data centres in the world now, running Grok and other things.
He's talking about putting one on the moon.
Yeah.
Which would be amazing.
That would be amazing. But so, so it is going to change. But this is the ludicrous thing about net zero, is that we're doing it in a way where we're stitching ourselves up before the technology gets there. We should be good. We should be doing it organically.
Well, I've got some more breaking news for you. This is from an article I've just spotted on Twitter. The factory that produces half of Britain's salt could soon be killed by net zero. For the first time in history, England is set to be a net importer of the world's most important mineral, which will be catastrophic for UK manufacturing.
I'm not surprised, Mike.
Because we don't make anything anymore. We have to import everything, which is why everything costs so much.
Including our gas. And do you know what?
Including our migrants.
And migrants. What gets me about this whole thing, do you see that Sky News have finally realised? They did this piece, I think it was last week, frustrating as hell, where they were saying that, look, if we carry on Ed Miliband's pathway, we're going to be heavily reliant on gas from Qatar by 2035. Oh, and by the way, it's worse for the environment. I mean, the frustration that Sky News said right at the end of that clip that was completely unexpected argument. People have been saying this for years.
It's only expected to them.
No, it's completely. Yeah.
This is the same channel that used to do a whole hour on the climate, didn't they? The climate hour, do you remember?
These guys
and the great thing about it was that it had net zero audience. Nobody wanted to watch it.
Yeah, people have been saying this for years. And Sly News have just caught up. Just this moment realised that, oh yes, guess what? If we don't import liquefied natural gas from Qatar, it'll actually be better for the environment. I mean, it's ludicrous.
Yeah.
I think we're a failed state, Mike.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Nothing works. You can't find... I mean, I once had... I think it was Mel Stride on when he was the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions. And I said, can you name me one government department that actually works? And he went, well, I think the Work and Pensions, the one I run. No, mate, I'm sorry. And I mean, even he couldn't think of anything.
The Expenses Department works quite well.
That does, yeah. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Blimey. Anyway, listen, Lee, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Lee Harris there, stayed for a bit of an extended period of time. We've got Marilyn Hawes coming up next. She's got plenty to say for herself, and we're keeping her on, by the way, for Plonk of the Week, which is quite terrifying. Because I don't know what she's going to be like, but she's had a couple of glasses of fizz, is all I can say. But she's very kindly brought me some wagtastic treats, and not for me, for the dog, for Ziggy. Chewy chicken with carrot sticks. Very nice. We'll be doing all that. Chris Walkey's here as well with his son Oliver. We'll be setting all that up. My hair's getting cut by Dan. Should we show them the possibilities on the haircutting front? Because Dan's got a hairdressing salon up in Oldham, right? And he sent me these possible new styles for me. There's 4 of them, I think. I don't know if you can put them all up at the same time. Can you? Is that possible?
Yes, I'll see.
Too much.
Yes, Mike. Yes.
Yeah, there's one. I don't think I'll go for that one. No. Next one. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. No, that's a kind of heron.
Oh, I don't know. I think that would
sort
work.
of heron-esque
That
cut,
would work,
isn't it? No, don't fancy that. No, anything? What's next? Now that's not so bad. That's like Starmer's wig, isn't it? Have you seen the line in the back of his head? It looks like he's wearing a toupee. I don't know if he is.
That made me laugh.
And finally, there we go. Yeah, that would be all right. A bit of a curly-haired kind of a...
It's not bad. I like this.
It's kind of Ryan Giggs perm, isn't it?
I like the second one.
Yeah, you like the second one. I'm not having that. I'm not having colours in my hair. Sorry. Anyway, we'll see how it all goes. There we are. Very nice.
Looks a bit like you.
Yeah.
Did you see all the Keir Starmers they were showing that were AI'd without his hairpiece?
I did see that. Yeah, in fact, we might even have that because we were looking at it earlier. But we'll do that. We'll also get some news. Have we got news to come with Edward Hughes? I think we have. Yeah, and then we'll have Marilyn Hawes coming next.
Good morning and welcome to Friday. My name is Edward Hughes with your news. While the world holds its breath over the Iran situation, Donald Trump is calling our aircraft carriers toys and graciously postponing strikes on Iranian energy sites. Because nothing says special relationship like public humiliation from your biggest ally. Back home, Keir Starmer apparently hates the fact he appointed Peter Mandelson as US ambassador. Shocking. A controversial pick from Labour turning into a headache? Who could have predicted that? MPs are demanding the government urgently apologise for historical forced adoptions, because saying sorry costs nothing and fixes everything. Meanwhile, new advice warns under 5s should have at most 1 hour of screen time a day. Good luck enforcing that when half the parents are doom-scrolling war updates on their phones. Oh, and an NHS doctor has been charged with stirring up support for Hamas, because that's exactly what the health service needed right now. Stay safe out there, or at least stay sarcastic. The UK's got this? Probably. And just to say, Charlotte, you're doing a super job. See you next week, Monsieur Pooch. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, tigers.
Yes, thanks very much indeed to Edward Hughes there with the news. Coming up later on, Andrew Bridgen's going to be joining us to talk to us about a number of different bits and pieces. We've got, of course, Plonk of the Week coming up as well, for which we have a wonderful guest who's just joined me now. Marilyn Hall's first time in the studio. Welcome.
Oh, it's very nice.
Good to see you here in... what do you make of our little home?
It's very cosy, isn't it?
Nice?
There's your dog up there,
Yeah,
Ziggy.
Ziggy's up
Lovely.
there.
It's very cosy. I actually thought you were, when I watched you, that you were stuck in a cabin in your back garden or something, you see. It's very nice. It's very cozy.
I mean, I have been stuck in a cabin in my back garden. But
Yeah, me too.
I
My
haven't
dog
been back
like
in
that,
there
though.
since, to be honest. It's some bad things. You know,
I
when
live
you
in that
buy-
village. You got to my xenophobic village and my little
xenophobic
cabin.
village.
I hide in there.
Have you got any flags in there? You
Oh,
know, that
will
you don't
be.
want to show. But yeah, so great to see you. Thank you for coming,
asking me. A
coming
big
down
honour.
to
Big, huge
visit.
honour.
And Plonk of the Week's going to be great. And because also, not only are we going to have a little drink, but I'm going to get my hair cut at the same time.
You've got some bacon butties as well to have with the Plonk.
I mean, we could have them. We could bring them in. There's a very nice cafe around the corner.
Yeah, some of us got up at 4 this morning.
I know. Well, tell me about it.
I
Well, you
know.
didn't hear what happened to me yesterday. I got up yesterday, right? Got in the shower, got dressed, got downstairs, in the car, driving to work, and I went, it's a bit dark. And also, I'm not used to hearing John Pinard's voice on Times Radio this time. It was only 3 o'clock in the morning. I was 2 hours early. Let it go. Drove the car around the block, went back upstairs and back to bed.
Yeah, I've done that before.
It can happen. You know.
I can. When I was homeless and I'd gone through my divorce and I lived with my friend Carol and we all had to take it in turns to go in the bathroom. And my daughter, she speaks in her sleep, right? And she told
I do
me,
that as well.
oh, so annoying. She told me, she would, get up, Mum, it's your turn in the bathroom. Get up, Mum, it's your turn in the bathroom. And I go, it's very dark, all made up, yeah. Get back into bed. She thought it was 6:15, it was 3:30.
Oh, yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing. So
It
I
can be
sat
done.
there. What am I going to do now?
I know. There's nothing worse. Anyway, listen, lots to talk about.
Yeah.
And I know that you've got some things to say about the Archbishop of Canterbury. First of all, do you want to start with that?
Well, I get, yes.
Go on then.
No one will talk to me when I get back home. I get so fed up with all the pomp and the gowns and the self-adulation and there's no sense of leadership there.
There's not much sense of religion either, to be honest. I mean, you wouldn't know if she was in charge of a sort of...
completely being chosen because she's woke, and therefore that means a woman's got to... Why do they all have to look so weird and ugly?
I don't know.
Why can't women priests...
Well, you fancy like a glamorous...
Why can't you have a glamorous one that's got earrings and wears lipstick and stuff like that? I mean, why have they got to look so ridiculously
I think you can order that.
pious?
I think you
I'd
can
make a
order
good
that.
one.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
wanted to be a nun, actually. I was brought up
Did you?
like... Yeah.
Too late for that. Sorry.
I was brought up as the indoctrination of going to a Catholic school.
I was going to say raised by nuns. I wasn't raised, but I went to Catholic school.
Yeah, I've joined the club, high five.
They were cruel as hell.
They're utter bitches.
I used to get hit. I used to get hit. One of them used to hit. Sister Isabel used to hit you across the knuckles with a steel ruler.
Sister Rita Clare with a drippy nose.
Yeah.
She used to throw scissors at me and say, "You can't do it." She was horrible. I was having this conversation with my sister the other day, actually, and I mean, it was just hideous. They were so brutally horrible,
right.
and I could going up. Oh, I could be here forever. Going up the staircase, and we had to get to the chemistry lab. You had to go past the chapel, and Sister Olivia was there swaying all this holy water over us, right? So I was always like the awful child was going, why?
You surprised me.
What, sister? Why do you do that? You make us all wet. Because you're all evil little devils, is what you are.
Yes.
And I went home and I said, Mummy, am I an evil little devil? Who said you that? I think, oh, good, she's going to go in and complain. Sister Olivia, we were going up to the chemistry lab. If Sister Olivia said it was right, then it was right.
Yeah.
Oh, this is no fun.
But this is the problem with the religious sort of aspect of the world, right? And of course, you know, we hear about the Muslim faith all the time now.
It's not really faith, it's a cult.
You're not really allowed to stand up for the Christian faith, as it were. But, I mean, I've learned a very early lesson, because I was an altar boy as well, and I found out very soon in life that you can do anything you like as long as you go to confession and just tell them what you did.
Have you ever been to Italy and seen them on a Sunday? They're all in there, up there, coming halfway down the mountains, and they're shagging everyone they can see with a pulse.
Now, that's a good place, actually, Italy, because the thing that I like about it is I was in...
Charlotte.
I was in Puglia a few years ago, and they get dressed up on a Sunday. right? Like we used to.
Yeah.
And they're all in the shop, they're all in the supermarket, and the wives are looking glamorous, and the guys are wearing suits
And
because
the
they've been to
grannies.
church,
Yeah, I know.
and they look great.
I know.
Right?
But go and say
we don't have any of that now.
No, I know. But what irritates me, I went, because I knew I was coming in here today, I'm going to go through her speech with a fine-tooth comb, and it was all, oh, God, this, God, that, God, help me, God, blah, blah, blah. You know, why haven't you...
Well, at least she mentioned God.
Well, she did mention God, but she had to
old Archbishop, what's his face? Woke
Oh,
Pete,
don't.
he never mentioned
Justin
God.
Welby, I've met him. I spent an hour and a half in his glorious company.
Did you?
Oh, my goodness me. I asked him once, because as I've been brought up a Catholic, he said, oh, you do realise, he said, I'm responsible for the 80 million Anglicans around the world. I said, what about the ones in Britain then?
Right.
You seem to have forgotten about them. And he said, well, he'd call me Justin. I said, call me Marilyn, that's my name.
Right.
You know, what do you want me to call you?
Yeah.
And he went on, and I said, you know what? I said, here's the thing. He said, I said, if you believe in all this stuff, I said, one day when your time comes and upstairs St. Michael waiting for you to go up there, and he's going to ask you, I assume, what have you done with your time on earth?
Yeah.
What is your legacy? I said, mine is the charity Freedom from Abuse. What will you say? And he just sat there looking at me.
Right.
I said, well, you don't have to answer it, but it says that you might like to think about it because your time could come up in the next hour,
I once made a
couldn't
joke
it?
in the House of Lords about a friend of mine who was a serial sex abuser. Oh, okay then. That doesn't get you in here, but you can go downstairs.
Yeah,
You know.
but she made with all the stuff that's going on in England, she made nothing. The one thing that has really got under my goat is the full-time abortion bill that's gone through. She should have picked that up.
By the way?
Well, you tell me. How has it happened?
Yeah.
It wasn't debated.
No.
It wasn't in the manifesto.
No.
How did it slide through? I wrote to the House of Lords. I wrote to my MP. You know, half the time that's useless. I wrote to, who else did I write to? I wrote to somebody else as well. House of Lords MP.
Secretary of State for Health, maybe?
Well,
Has he got anything to say about it?
Who on earth? Now, I lost 4 babies to have 4, right? So for me, and I had a son, one of my boys, at 5 years trying for a baby. There are so many people that would want and would happily take on good parents and a baby to adopt.
Yeah.
So
Which is still a very difficult thing to do, I understand.
They have to go through that. You don't get hold of a baby anymore. They've probably gone through about 5 or 6 foster carers before. Sure. And this is the abortion thing. It should not be politicised. It is outrageous. It's murder. It's infanticide. A baby up to certainly the last 4 weeks of its life. Yeah. It can hear. It can feel things. It could, if you pulled that baby out now, it would hold onto the mother's hand. It's a little person.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not a big advocate of abortion anyway, but I have to say, had I been raped and I was pregnant, I think that's a different thing altogether.
I think there's no question that there are medical reasons why
for having
abortion
absolutely
is needed,
right.
and certainly there are reasons why women should have the access to it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's fine.
Absolutely.
But not to term.
No, because you've also got plenty of time now. You've got up to maybe 5 weeks or more when you can make that decision for whatever you make it for. There's that, but
and I don't have a problem with women choosing not to have a child for all sorts
absolutely.
of reasons, provided that they do it in a limited period
They
of time.
can do it in a limited period of time.
Which seems humane.
But who is going to perform this? Where are the safeguards?
Yeah.
Is some woman going to say, well, you know, I don't want to push this thing out now, so, you're going to have to push it out anyway because it's 9 months.
Somebody made the point, you know, if you had been allowed to have that baby, say, for example, you're at, I don't know, whatever it is, month 9, and you go, OK, I've decided I'm going to have an abortion. If you decided to have that child and then murdered it, you'd be done.
Exactly right.
And it would be the same thing.
It's
right? How is it different?
I know. But the baby does have... I found something that, as I looked up, like Save the Children and UNICEF, that there are legal things to do with, like, towards the very end of the pregnancy. They don't have human rights. I checked that, which I think is appalling, because I think the law needs to be changed, because in a heartbeat, that does become a viable being. But it's already a viable being. It's just, you know, lying there in a sack of water.
Yeah.
You know, and then suddenly it's a human being. It doesn't make sense.
No.
It's brutally cruel. It is... Alison Pearson wrote a superb article at the weekend in the Telegraph about it, and I wrote to her because I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Right. But I literally... I know I've got no power with this at all, but I literally sat in the car when I heard it. I was due to go in, I read it in the paper and all that. I sat in the car and cried. And I thought, what the heck has happened to society
because
in
what
Britain?
appears to have happened as well.
And the Archbishop of Canterbury should have mentioned that.
Yes.
Where was she?
Does she have a view on it? We don't know.
Oh, well, she was walking, wasn't she? Some pilgrim walk, and she decided she had to come back, and she wasn't sure how she was going to vote. She shouldn't have had any question about it.
Jesus Christ. that's what I'm
Unbelievable.
saying.
But, you know, she should step up. Where's the leadership?
Where is
None.
the leadership? But also, it appears, it seems to me anyway, from what I've read, that the people who have voted for it have done so out of some kind of duty to feminism, because they think it's somehow
give me
empowering.
strength.
I know, but it's somehow empowering
God,
to women to
dear,
let
oh
them
dear. If
have
you-
an abortion at 9 months.
You want to have it be empowered, then you have it earlier on, not at that time. Because is this woman going to take a pill and then be on her own? Where are the safeguards here?
Yeah, right.
If I was on the fact that I'm spiritual, I'm not religious, because the
Yes.
whole thing drives me mad. If you believe that Christ is born in a stable, why are all these leaders getting gowned up in satin and rings and jewels and, you know, adulate themselves
Yeah,
as being
yeah.
somebody special? No, get off your perch.
Yeah.
You know, and it does.
Get off
even
your
the
high
cult-
horse, even. You could say
exactly
it's
right.
a stable reference.
Exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. The donkey. Yeah, but it really, really hurt me. Very little. Most things in the news actually wind me up. But this absolutely really got into my heart and my soul.
No,
and I thought,
think
this is
you're,
just
you're
awful.
speaking for an awful lot of people.
You
I
know,
think,
it's
who-
awful.
Yeah.
And the people should be ashamed of themselves that voted feminism, for goodness sake. It's quite feminine, actually, to have a baby.
It is.
You know what? There you go.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly right.
And also,
well,
you're
listen,
going to have
at
a
the risk
problem.
of winding you up even further.
Oh, no, go
right?
on.
What about this story?
I haven't
right?
even had a plonk yet.
Yeah, I know. This is in the Times today.
Be afraid. Be very afraid, Mike.
In the Times today, grooming gangs evidence may be lost
No, rape
after
gangs.
delays.
No, correction, they're rape
Well,
gangs.
they may have had to put grooming because it fits
I know,
better.
but they should learn.
No, but it fits better.
Oh, does
Otherwise,
it?
you have to
Oh,
blow
oh,
it. You know, because
I
I used to be in
see.
newspapers. You know what I mean? You've got to get the typeface right.
Oh, how's that right?
So grooming's longer than rape. So
you don't know that.
well, so they tell me. You know.
Depends who's doing it.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Thank you for that.
We had a discussion, didn't we,
I told
about
you it'd be bad.
Shabana
Let's
Mahmood.
gonna have a drink in a minute as well. How about this, right? Evidence concerning... All right, we're going to call it rape gangs. It's in the text
It is rape
now.
gangs. It's not
Evidence
grooming.
concerning rape gangs may have been destroyed because of Home Office delays in ordering records to be preserved, according to a parliamentary committee. Freedom of Information requests revealed that the Home Office took 7 months to write to police forces and other agencies to retain material relating to the gangs.
It's absolutely... Yeah.
Huh?
It's appalling.
I mean, what is going on?
All salutation, Robbie Moore MP, good for you.
Yes.
Tory guy up there, what part of it? Bradford, wasn't it? And around there. And he only tripped over this last December. This missive was brought out by Baroness Casey in June.
Yes.
And immediately, all these notifications had to go out to all the authorities and all the police forces, and nothing had happened. So he chased it down in December. Nothing had happened. January the 14th, it then was noticed, and everybody got very cross about it. December the 9th, the previous Baroness Longfield, who was the previous Children's Commissioner, she got onto it and started getting stroppy. I mean, so this is either, are these people in the Home Office inept?
Yes.
Do they want to, all of it? Do they want to keep covering up?
Yes.
Are they unprofessional?
Yes.
Do they have no duty of care? Yes.
Yes.
And so it goes
How
on.
do they continue to have jobs, these people?
Unbelievably,
Right?
unbelievable. It is dreadful. And now, where, excuse me, from the moment those missives went out, our lovely, glorious Jess Phillips, the most gorgeous woman in, I mean, other than Hannah, the Green Party lady, who looks like she's come out. She looks a bit like Bo Peep, actually, I've decided.
Yeah.
Truly, I mean, where was Jess Phillips? Let me think. Well, she wasn't doing a makeup.
Probably down the mosque, wasn't she?
Oh,
Making
probably,
sure that she doesn't lose her seat.
with Hannah from the Green Party.
With Hannah,
learning Urdu.
Doing some prayers.
Probably learning Urdu.
Yeah.
No, she'd be on the streets to do that, wouldn't she?
Yeah, here's a statement from the Home Office here. It says, we have established the independent inquiry into grooming gangs to get the answers that victims and survivors of these horrendous crimes deserve.
I mean,
they're not getting any answers.
Do you know what? No one stops and thinks. With my job, freedom from abuse, all the time I get, after coming on your show today, I will have so many emails where I'm asked to, and I will get involved because you don't do what I do and go, well, pay me some money and I'll help you. It's not what it's a bit. It's altruistic.
Well, you should give out your email address so that people can get in touch, or is it going to be?
All they got to go on is freedom-abuse.org and they'll find me. And they'll find me. I'm not like the NSPC, CCC, thank goodness, because we actually do try and affect change.
Right.
But it's always people that they are so damaged by these rapes. You are talking about, there was a girl I read the other day, She had been raped. Wait for this. She was picked up at 12 years old from North Wales, taken to Liverpool and around. She was raped 1,000 times over that period. You're not talking about... It's on an industrial scale. The exploitation is horrific. I'm currently coping with a case, right? This has been going on for months, up in North Shields, where there are Kurd gangs and they're running amok up there. Yeah. And there's a taxi driver, 2 taxi drivers with Uber, have noticed these young girls like who have been in the care system, and they're going and they're being picked up by these Kurds and taken to these different places. It has been reported to the police. They have involved the IOPCC. No point doing that. They're marking their own homework. There's never any problem with their boys in blue. They're all in the same club. So in the end, I went on and I kept going on about it. And this poor taxi drivers were, oh, you'll get these girls into trouble. Do you really think these Kurdish gangs are going to be watching me on the media? I don't think so. And anyway, I've now got the council involved up there, because when people had seen me on media, they had written to their council and said, this is going on.
And what are you doing about it?
End is a no-go area. Why aren't they? I've involved Charlie Peters from GB News on it because he raised all this issue. These poor women that were girls, their trauma will be re-traumatised all over again because these numpties didn't do their job properly. And why aren't they out on their ear? And who was involved? If this wasn't actioned, who were the people that didn't action this? Off you go, bye-bye, go and do walkie-walkies.
I mean, we were talking obviously earlier on, Nigel Evans and Sir Lee Harris, about the whole ridiculousness of this Mandelson cover-up that's going on. And everybody knows it's a cover-up. Literally, you don't have to be a political scientist. You don't have to be a police officer. You don't have to... I mean, you just go to anyone in the street and they go, it's a cover-up. We know it's a cover-up, but why is nobody taking a fall for it?
I know, nobody... Because... do you know why I think it is? I think people are frightened. No. I do honestly think... I belong now... I belong to the Free Speech Union, right? Because I'm so worried about Starmer closing everybody down. I mean, he's I've said it before, he's a Marxist. He's a communist. He wants a commie state. That's what he wants.
He's a very curious bloke.
He's a very weird man.
Yeah.
And he's like a robot, isn't he? I mean,
Have you seen that interview with him today with Beth Wrigley talking about how he's beating himself up all the time?
I actually laughed. Can I come and do it for you? I might better have it.
Yeah.
But truly, he comes across all the time as sincerely insincere.
Yes, totally.
And it makes me want to throw up, actually. Yeah. I just want to punch him.
Well, he stood, as Nigel Evans stood in front of that ship there, because he's never seen one before. He wants to see what it looked like. And he's going, oh, I find this all a bit far-fetched. Really? How do you think we feel? Everything he does is far-fetched.
Exactly right. And also, the lies. I think, I do agree with what Lee Harris said earlier, that if I had been so humiliated, I laughed out loud when I saw him with his head in his hands the other day. I thought, goodness me, oh, boo-hoo diddums, are you going to cry?
I know.
I mean, I would have had to have resigned. I could not be seen like that as leader.
If you walked around, right, and the number of people that ridiculed him, ridiculed you, you'd never go out.
No.
You'd go, hang on a minute.
Exactly.
Everybody hates me.
I'd become agoraphobic. I truly would.
No, exactly.
But the other thing he said was, I am personally committed to doing all I can for violence against women and girls.
Oh, right.
Forgetting the violence against boys and men as well, because you guys actually, it's a lot more than people think, that the difference between domestic abuse to men and all of this, that and the other. But what an absolute lie. What has he done? Nothing. No. He hasn't pushed this inquiry through.
This ridiculous kind of netherworld of legalese where nobody really does anything. They just say they're doing things. Like the great example was him apparently saying that, of course the police have recorded this, it must have happened. No, that's not how it works. You have to have evidence. You have to have the actual phone. You have to know that the phone was stolen. You can't just go, somebody told me it was stolen, therefore it's true.
Had he beat himself about Mandelson when he says he didn't know? He did know.
Of course he did.
We've proved that you knew.
Yes.
So you're only beating yourself up, really, because you'd be found out.
Yeah.
That's what's so embarrassing. Right. That he just so annoys me. He's so flaky. He really is. He couldn't organise a kids' picnic, quite honestly.
But he's disingenuous about it as well, which I think, if he was genuinely thick and stupid, and I don't think he's that bright, to be fair, but if he was genuinely thick and stupid, I would sort of have more sympathy. But it's because he's so hypocritical and he's so kind of manipulative.
Oh yes, yes,
and
yes.
self-deluded that I find him
yes,
impossible
he is.
to
He's
watch.
complete. I can't have to go out the room. He really, you know, I don't normally find myself. You might find this extraordinary, but I actually don't like feeling angry. It's not something I like to do. But the three things today, like with the rape gangs and him, Starmer, I find myself, I'm angry most of the time.
Yeah, I know.
Because I can't bear liars.
Yeah.
You know, I really can't bear it. And it's so patently obvious, it's transparently clear that it's just a load of BS that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah.
It's awful. I mean, and I don't. What gets me is, do they really think we're all that stupid?
But that's the thing that I find the most
it really annoying.
That's the thing I find the most annoying, which is particularly why I find this phone thing annoying.
Yes.
Because who do you think you're talking
I know,
to?
I know.
Do you actually, I mean, we say in Scotland, do you think my head zips up the back? You know, because
I thought that was Ireland.
Yeah, well, maybe it is as well, but I found it and learned it in Scotland. And you know, it's embarrassing and actually it's actually insulting.
Is
to
it?
the
I
people
find it insulting
of this country to accept or to expect us to believe.
I find
the
it
crap
insulting.
That you're coming out
I
with.
totally agree. And if we go back to the lost documents thing, right? I looked this up as well because to me, I thought, well, this must be criminal, surely, if you've lost evidence, right? And it is. If you look up Section 35 of the inquiry. The inquiry, what's it called? 2005. Inquiry something or other, 2005, because I'm hungry, you see, I haven't had a bacon butty. And I do eat them. I have tried them to see what they're like. I often do that. Yeah, I often do that. Some are absolutely repugnant. But gravy bones, they're horrible.
You make your tail wag.
Gravy
bones. You get a nice shiny coat.
I'm very chirpy. I don't have a wet nose. That was Sister Rita Clare. But the Inquiry Act, that's it, the Inquiry Act of 2005, Section 35, clearly states it is a criminal offence to destroy evidence. So who is going to be looking at what has been destroyed? Because wouldn't that have been logged in? You know when people come in, like anything with the police, it gets logged, doesn't it? So if you look at the log, and the paperwork isn't there, then you know whether it's gone missing or not.
Exactly.
And I'm not like, I haven't got a degree in this sort of thing. It's just common sense, isn't it?
Well, exactly. But also, who in government doesn't seem to want to take responsibility for the business of government? It's bad enough that, you know, McSweeney thinks that we should all believe him when he's lost his phone. He's supposed to be the cleverest man in Christendom, right? There's somebody ringing the door there. We don't know how to stop that, by the way, because
probably the police come to get me.
Probably the police. Yeah. Keir Starmer. I've come to arrest you on the grounds of sedition. But yeah, so would you stop that? Here, what would you name a British warship? Have you got a name for a British warship? This one. This is the choice. Well, these are the choices, but you can add any more ones in if you want. The good ship Starmer, toy destroyer, Boaty McBoatface, or HMS Trump.
Oh, HMS Trump. I'm very bad at thinking up names. I'm very bad at logos. I'm really poor at it. Yeah, I could just play HMS up your bum. I suppose you could do that.
Very good. David's got, what about HMS Ramadan?
Oh, don't stop it. Don't get me on that again.
No,
I
won't.
No, hang on a minute. No, I am going to say something.
Go on.
Why? No, I am going to. Yes, I am going to do this. Why did he have an Eid party in number 10 the other day?
Well, how many Eid parties does he want? He had one in Westminster Hall as well.
I know.
Remember,
and
when that Palestinian guy came up and manhandled him.
And
that was very weird.
That was extremely
very
weird.
Odd,
that at that point, I did question.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but yesterday there was a Palestine flag above Westminster Abbey. Did you know?
Oh yeah, Westminster Cathedral, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
which is the Catholic one.
Yeah, that's right. There was a Palestine flag up there, but. What gets me is he has all these people, he's all sort of, glad handing and all this, going, oh, I'm really, this is the new face of Britain. It is not the new face of Britain, pal. We are the face of Britain. Come in, work alongside us, live with us, work with us, pay taxes, fine. But not these undocumented men. And yet, he goes on all this whoopee-dee, has all these people he's never met in his life coming to number 10 Downing Street. But Siobhan White, whose daughter was so...
Rhiannon,
Rhiannon White, who was so brutally murdered by an illegal migrant,
who has written now 3 or 4 times to him.
Yeah.
Why hasn't he met her?
I know.
It's disgraceful.
It is. And he hasn't even acknowledged the letters.
He hasn't acknowledged the letters.
All she's got is a minion from the
that's
Home
right.
Office or something who said, oh, thanks very much
Exactly.
indeed. We very much appreciate
It is
your
absolutely
reaching
outrageous.
out. It is.
And yet...
Well, the Pink Ladies, I think, are taking her down to Downing Street in April.
Good.
They're going to go to Downing Street and knock on the door,
so
which
they
I think
should.
is a good idea.
So they should.
Yeah.
So they should. Good for them. Because, I mean, you go back in time to the awful killing of Stephen Lawrence.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that time. And his parents went... it wasn't obviously Starmer. I can't remember who the PM was at that time, but...
I think it was Blair, wasn't it?
I got a feeling it was Blair.
It was Blair.
And in they went, and she was made Baroness at the end of it all. And poor old Siobhan, I mean, I'm in contact with her quite a lot because I just...
Yeah, we've had her on the show. In fact, we must get her on the show again soon. Charlotte, if you don't mind. HMS Marilyn, there you go. Hev Chip says that. He wants to name the ship after you.
Thank you.
There's some big guns at the front.
HMS Mazza.
There you go. Hi, Marilyn. Dan's
Mazza.
excited about meeting you and shaving all Mike's hair off. Thank you. That's Dan's partner, Rachel.
We're forming an orderly queue as to who's going to cut his
He's
hair.
here. Hello, Dan. Nice to see you. Welcome. HMS Alu Akbar. That's a good one. HMS Ghost. HMS Where's My Keys? Just get HMS Paper Cup. I mean, what you would know is that if we did build a new ship, it would be in repairs for the best part of the first 5 years.
Yeah, it wouldn't
because
work.
I don't know if you saw earlier, we
We
read
had
out
to
this...
borrow one from Germany, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We've got the list here, right? What remains of our proud fleet? We've got 2 times Queen Elizabeth class aircraft carriers. 0 of those are operational, I'm afraid. HMS Prince of Wales undergoing maintenance. Hasn't been in the water for 116 days. HMS Queen Elizabeth is being refitted. It's 482 days since they did anything, right? Then we've got 6 Type 45 destroyers, 1 operational, and that's HMS Dragon, right? Which is currently deployed to somewhere near Cyprus. 5 Astute-class submarines, 1 operational. 7 Type 23 frigates, only 3 operational.
I mean, do you know what is so awful? We used to have the best navy in the world, didn't we?
Well, Britain ruled the waves. Remember that song?
Yeah, exactly. We ruled the waves, and honestly, we can't even get a tin tub out there now, can we?
No.
I mean, it's just awful.
Well, somebody said, why don't you just transmit the old
rubber
dinghies?
dinghies? Exactly right.
You can have a dinghy fleet.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
a rapid assault fleet, which you could go across fast across the Arabian Sea, straight into the Straits of Hormuz. See if you can stop us, guys.
Well, we could give him a compass that actually takes them the wrong way. End up on
That'd
the
be
shores
good, actually.
of Cyprus.
Yeah, be some kind of like
Frighten the life out of them.
where you could just make the dinghies go around. Anyway, never mind. Super chats. Come on, let's do a couple of those, shall we? I don't know what the subject matter is on this.
Ooh.
Let's have a look.
Super chat.
Archbishop of Crankerbury. That's good. LCL. Totally. Yeah. Have you got another audience with it coming up? Sunshine says, please hit thumbs up. The likes are low this morning. Actually, yeah, 3.1. In fact, probably what you should do is if you get to 5,000 likes, I'll get any haircut you like. How about that?
I'm very tempting.
Within reason, obviously. Hoyle hypocrite pulled Johnson and Sunak raid PMQs. Yes, he did. This is Lindsay Hoyle, who refuses to make Keir Starmer answer any questions, right? But he did make Boris Johnson do it. Kemi's next PMQs. PM, please tell us how bad the Tories are. Oh, yeah, he might answer that. Very much so. Now, what we're going to do now, because we've got... I've got to do a meltdown on the old reparations front. I've got to do a Planks promo. Should we do the Planks promo now? Why don't we do that, and then we can all have a bit of a breather.
Oh, Plonk is good fun.
Plonk is great this week.
I love it. I'm going to go back on that.
Yeah, you will do, yeah. Marilyn Hawes is here, ladies and gentlemen. She's hanging around for Plonk of the Week as well, so don't go anywhere. That's going out tomorrow night, of course, at 7 o'clock. How about this? Plonk of the Week tonight at 7.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, Lois, if your boyfriend came home and said, I haven't been sending any messages to anyone, and you go, well, let's have a look at your phone, and he goes, I've just had it stolen.
I just dropped it in the toilet. I dropped it in the toilet.
I'd be slightly suspicious, yeah.
Well, you'd go, well, let's log into your WhatsApps on the computer. Oh, no, because I never backed it up. You'd go, what a load of old bollocks, wouldn't you?
By the way, I've never been that type of girlfriend. But yeah, no, I would be very, very suspicious. I agree with Dan. It didn't happen. And you wouldn't call 999 in that position. You would let the security services know straight away. And so he's obviously been told to make that call. at a later time to cover it off, which is why all the information is wrong. Is what it is a scandal. But I don't know. I mean, Dan, are you similar age to me? How old are you?
Nobody knows.
I'm 43.
Oh, right, so you're a year younger than me. When we were kids,
I'm 20 years older than you, Lois.
We're not going around the room doing ages now.
I didn't think you were ever going to out yourself as being over 40,
anyway,
Lois. I wasn't expecting that.
When we were kids, not you two, but when we were kids, Dan, right, people resigned for tiny things. What would now be considered tiny? The things that no one resigns anymore. No one resigns. If somebody was linked to a company and they benefited from it, from a change in legislation, from a minister, and it was a sibling or something like that, it was a big deal. Nobody resigns. Nobody takes any responsibility. Well,
we've got the clip which we're going to show you of Starmer finally this week in the House of Commons doing what everybody thought he should be doing, which was basically holding his head in his hands as he's being sort of rogered senseless by Kemi Badenoch with a strap-on dildo.
Wow.
Sorry. I
mean, that's an image.
There's an image for you. Wow. I bet you'd love that, by the way.
There's a cartoon that won't make the television.
No, but I mean, just imagine the scene, right? That's what it looked like to me yesterday, where she's going on about the phone. And what would she actually said the words, what would the head of the Crown Prosecution Service make of somebody who came in under serious investigation and facing possible charges of anything from treason to fraud to, malfeasance in public office, to who would say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't show you my phone, it was stolen. I mean, in which world would the police not be saying, let's look at your backup, let's get to a Vodafone shop and download your iCloud. Now it's time for my meltdown, I think, isn't it? Should we do that? Surprise you to know, it might not surprise you to know that I'm not very much in favour of the United Nations. Nothing against the United Nations with a small U and a small N. I quite like lots of different countries around the world, but what I don't like is the United Nations as an organisation. For one, because it's ludicrously expensive. They expect us to pay for it. They all live high on the hog in New York City, going in and out of that lovely building on the east side of the city, overlooking Brooklyn and overlooking the East River. However, yesterday, in the House of the United Nations, they decided to come up with a great idea that Britain and other former colonial powers should pay reparations for slavery, right? Now, it will come as no great surprise to you that this resolution was tabled at the UN General Assembly by Ghana on behalf of the African Union of Countries, who have also condemned the forced migration of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. Now, one of the things that's really ground my gears about this story is not that these people want reparations, but it's that Britain, as a country, didn't vote. They didn't vote no. They didn't vote yes. They abstained. What the hell's going on? Why are you abstaining? What do you want to do? Do you want to tax us some more so that we can pay some more money out for reparations for slavery that we didn't have any role in? Is that what you want? James Kariuki, who apparently is the British charge d'affaires at the UK mission to the UN. It sounds like karaoke. James Kariuki said Britain continues to disagree with fundamental propositions of the text. He also raised concerns that African delegates insisted on using legal language in the resolution. Luckily, it's not actually binding, this, because the UN's a complete talking shop. Load of old cobblers, doesn't really work. But basically, the UN want to say that it's important to address historical wrongs affecting Africans and people of African descent. Claims for reparations can represent a concrete step towards remedying historical wrongs. Well, no, they don't, actually. As somebody pointed out to me this morning, it turns out that if you were somehow related to people from Africa, you might end up paying, because you now don't live there anymore, reparations to people who actually made a profit from slavery when they were living there. The whole thing is completely and utterly round its ears. And guess who's funding it? You guessed it. It's the Open Society Foundation, run by one George Soros. That's right. So the International Court of Justice is involved. Basically, the resolution was announced by John Mahama, who's the president of Ghana, and they think that we should pay trillions and trillions. Lenny Henry's involved in it as well, right? Lenny Henry thinks we should all pay trillions and trillions of pounds in reparations. Well, forget yourself. It's the funniest thing he's said in years, as Ray Fidel-Mancu pointed out. He's now suddenly a comedian again. But anyway, so we're not interested in paying reparations. We're not interested in giving any money to people, particularly since Britain actually made slavery illegal. We were the first country to do it. If you want to find some slaves, try the Middle East, or try Mayfair, or try, the basement of some of the houses in Chelsea. I think you'll find plenty going on there. That's my meltdown for the day. It's a terrible picture of me, that. Anyway, listen, coming up, we're going to be filming Plonk of the Week. And Dan is here to cut my hair as well, which is going to be interesting. Marilyn Hawes is staying for Plonk of the Week. And Chris and Oliver are in the house as well. Right now, though, let's talk to Andrew Bridgen, who's on the show for the first time. Andrew, very good morning to you. Welcome to the new Mike Graham Show.
Good morning, Mike. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, very nice to see you too. It's been a long time. Let's kick things off with HS2, which I know you want to say something about. We had a story earlier in the week, and I said, surely we can't name it HS2 anymore now because they want it to go slow. So presumably it's SL2 now, isn't it? Or HSH2, whatever.
Well, I mean, it's just been a litany of disaster. From the beginning, I opposed HS2 in principle and predicted it would crash massively over budget.
Yeah.
And would be cancelled, and that's exactly what happened. If you wanted to build a high-speed rail service in the UK, system in the UK, you would think that you would go to a company that had already built one somewhere in the world, and there's plenty around Europe and the Far East. But no, I mean, the civil service set up a new company and told the government they'd learn on the job. They were the highest paid jobs in the civil. That is what they said. We can do it ourselves. We don't need to employ a company. We've got the skill. We'll get the skills. And you've seen exactly what's happened. I mean, it can't even go. The bit that they've kept on, phase one, from supposedly London to Birmingham, they would have cancelled that if they hadn't already been tunnelling under the Chilterns. And it can't even go into Euston. They can't make that work. Right. So it's going from Old Oak Common, which is nearly London, and it can't go into Birmingham because that's too expensive. So it's going to the NEC, nearly Birmingham.
Right.
So you'll be able to go really fast if it's ever completed from nearly London to nearly Birmingham. I don't know anybody that wants to go from nearly London to nearly Birmingham at any speed. And by the time you change trains twice, it'll be slower than the conventional rail.
So now it won't even go quickly from nearly Birmingham to nearly London, though. It will go slowly. I've got a new name for it, right? What do you think of this? SH1T.
Yes. Eh? Well, Mike, very early in my political career, obviously I was very concerned about HS2, coming from a business background and thinking, this is no way to run a war. So I actually had a meeting with Eric Pickles, the Conservative Party chairman at the time, back in 2013, to raise my concerns as a backbencher about the policy of HS2. And I got into his office, and you've got to imagine, as a sort of fairly newly elected MP in those days, it's like going into the headmaster's office, and there's Eric Pickles, a substantial man, peering over his half-brimmed glasses at me like a headmaster behind the desk. And I said, Eric, I'm really worried about HS2. I think it's going to, be a disaster of administration. It's going to go massively over budget like all the projects do, and it's going to really backfire on the government who are wasting money. And he looked over his glasses at me, and he said, Andrew, we are the government. If we weren't wasting taxpayers' money on HS2, we'd only be wasting it on something else.
Oh my God!
And that was the end of the meeting.
Wow!
And I just was gobsmacked. And
that's extraordinary, isn't it?
That's exactly what happened.
Mind you thought that government was bad, and now look what we've got. I mean, for heaven's sake, we've now got a guy, I know you were tweeting about this yesterday, John Healey, who doesn't know how many ships we've got. He doesn't know whether they've got any capability of doing anything. We've also got statements coming out of the government saying we don't believe Israeli claims that there is the possibility that we could be hit by an Iranian missile, but they can't tell us why because it's classified. I mean, I've got no confidence whatsoever in these idiots defending us from anything.
Yeah, I don't think it's no. That's the first duty of every government, is to protect the citizenship and the country. I mean, we don't need to go there now, but I mean, the boats coming across the Channel show they can't even protect our borders. Yet we're willing to make statements and give billions and billions of taxpayers money to protect the borders of other countries in far off parts of the world. But we can't protect our own borders. And what they don't tell you as well is, okay, most of the ships we've got in the Navy, the fleet, are actually in for repair most of the time. But we haven't got the sailors to actually man all the ships anyway.
No.
So, I mean, if they were all seaworthy and available, we haven't got the trained sailors to man them.
It's important that we should actually know what we can do. And if we don't know what we can do, we shouldn't be trying to do it, should we?
Well, I think President Trump, for all his faults, I mean, he has exposed Starmer repeatedly, hasn't he? For everybody, all politicians, all political leaders around the world like to pose on the world stage. Well, I mean, Trump has cut Starmer down to size, just like successive governments have cut our military and its reach down to size.
I know, it's absolutely embarrassing. I've been asking everyone who's come on the show this week this question, so I don't want you to feel in any way put out by it, but have you got Morgan McSweeney's phone?
I haven't even got his phone number, you can imagine. Although Wes Streeting does follow me on Twitter, so I mean that I do have fans in the Labour Party. I mean, I think you just want to keep an eye on what I'm up to. No, I mean this. I heard you talking about it earlier. I mean this old chestnut of I've had my phone stolen is very handy.
Yeah.
It doesn't really stand up to scrutiny. I'm sure that the police could get the records from the cloud. It's only the physical phone that's disappeared.
Yeah.
The records can't really be erased if there was a willingness to do so. But I'm also reminded, Mike, obviously, the Hugh Edwards scandal.
Right.
He was convicted of receiving child pornography from the evidence of the person who supplied him that. And of course, when the police got to him, he said he'd lost his phone.
Right.
And I'd put it to you that was so that nobody could find out who he'd shared that material with.
Yes. And I think, as you say, Andrew, we all know, we've all, it's not like none of us have got a phone, like none of us have had it stolen. And, we all know how it works. There's no credibility left in any way, shape or form. But what I would like to know is what are the police doing? I mean, we found out today, for example, that according to the Times, Peter Mandelson's personal phone hasn't even been looked at by the cops.
Well, I mean, it's fair to say that, the police are now politically directed. And that's very, very unhealthy,
It is.
When you've got the head of the Met is Sadiq Khan, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, I think were it someone of a different political hue, there might be a different attitude for investigating from the police, which is completely wrong. I mean, one of the basic tenets of our law is that we're all equal under the law. Well, we know that's not true, don't we?
Well, clearly, absolutely not. So what are you up to these days anyway, Andrew?
I'm speaking around the country. I'm now doing some work with Rupert Lowe in Restore Britain, and that's all very, very exciting. And I do a fair bit on social media. So
okay. Cool.
I'm still in northwest Leicestershire, and it's what I'm doing is I'm having time to look and see what's happening in the world and the things that are being disclosed, whether that's the truth about net zero being a load of bunkum or the Epstein files. I mean, what a time to be alive. I mean, it's amazing things being disclosed, sort of proportional to the poor quality of government that we're seeing around the world.
I know, it is extraordinary. Well, it's good to see you. Well, let's get you on more often on all sorts of different things. Nice to talk to you. Andrew Bridgen there, former MP for the Tory party up there in Leicestershire. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is doing Plonk of the Week, which we're doing next. Marilyn Hawes is here, still here. That's right, this is the longest you've been quiet. It's the longest you've been quiet in your life, I think, isn't it? Hey? Kept expecting you to jump in at any time.
He did say something when I thought
Now, here's a question for you, because you're a mother and you've been involved in raising children all your life.
Yes.
The story we haven't actually talked about today, it's on the front of the Mirror and the Sun. 1 hour is your lot tops. Apparently, according to Keir Starmer, new expert guidance would help parents in the battle over the use. We don't need the government to tell us what to do with our children, do we?
But this is all about. I actually did put some stuff out on Twitter, because every so often I have my deputy head hat on as well. You see.
Oh, yeah.
This is just bad parenting.
Yeah.
This is about. Do you know, my kids are grown up now, but if I had bothered to cook a roast lunch for them and they brought their phones and sat at the table, I would take it off them. It's just so rude.
Yeah.
And
it's not difficult, is it?
No. The number of times you go in a cafe, wherever you are, and now babies in buggies have got an iPhone to play with. What is going on?
I know.
And you sit there and you see kids, like two parents, sat in the coffee shop, and they're all there like this. Whatever happened to communication?
I know.
And I used to find when we had we didn't have all this stuff. They had the ordinary, like, Nokia things years ago.
They had Game Boys, my kids, when they were
and Super Mario and all that sort of stuff, you know. But I used to have the kids would do all sorts of activities and things, but I would have like 1 or 2 meals a week where it was mandatory. They had to, you know. So there were 6 of us, obviously 4 kids and that. And that's when you talk about what their aims and aspirations are, and you can watch their body language and you can see, hang on a minute, there's something going on here, that's not so right. And then all their friends come bundling in and you all sit around and talk. It was great times I had when my kids had... I love teenagers, but this is outrageous.
It is. There are some people who I've spoken to, kind of, you know, parental advisors and people like this, who say, oh yeah, what you should do is just have a basket by the front door and they put their phone in the basket.
That's right.
That's not something I would do, only because I think that's kind of going a bit far. Because they might want to use their phone at some point. You know, you can't sort of blanket ban it.
Well,
and I've always had this thing about schools, for example, that what they should do, it seems to me, in schools, is be a bit more creative. You know, don't say you can't bring your phone in. Make them use the phone, but only in a good way, for example, as part of learning or as part of being in the classroom.
I think the trouble is, though, with my training hat on now, that if you don't take these phones out of the children's rooms, you can do a straw poll on this, and I go around schools all the time.
Yeah.
About 60% of children who take their phones up to bed access them 30 times at night.
Oh no, listen.
Now they look like a panda when they come into school.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should allow them in the bedroom. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I don't think you need to be quite so drastic as say just put it in the basket, you know, or put it in a locker or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, because there's got to be a bit of trust, I think, as well.
Well, I had because you know I do my own show as well. You know I do. So
tell people where they can find it.
Unprecedented TV, Heart and Soul on YouTube.
It's obviously not unprecedented, because otherwise it wouldn't be on, would it?
Well, exactly right.
You know,
it's a weird.
Who came up with
it's
that
a
name?
weird name, and not me.
Anyway, get rid of him, fire them immediately.
But I had a guy called James Wilding on the other day, who's he is without doubt the best head teacher I've ever met in all my life while I was working before. And he was saying the trouble is, he said, you know, if you don't have them in the school, the time when boys will look at pornography is actually in the playground at school.
Yeah.
And then there's a bullying starts that if you don't watch this with me, you're not going to be in our gang.
Yeah.
And the moment you say, all right, so they start doing stuff with their homework and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not long before they're looking at other stuff they shouldn't be looked at.
Sure.
And the parents are, I'm not being funny, that the parents never think it's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And the number of times I go, oh, I didn't know that. They just assume, particularly, I'm not being funny, the middle class parents, you're going to call them, you know, the posh parents, if you like, who absolutely think they know everything about technology, and they don't.
No.
And they use all this stuff as a babysitting tool. And it's really, really sad that you don't want to talk to your toddlers and have fun with them and tease them and lark around with them. It's just bad parenting. Like these days, they go to school and they're wearing nappies, some of them. I mean, for goodness sake.
It's
sorry, but that is bad parenting.
I've got worse news for you. This is all coming out of the education department.
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. I can't stop.
The guidance we are setting out is to help parents make sure children can enjoy childhood, whether that's reading, playing with friends, and enjoying the outdoors.
Perfect. Absolutely
it's not
excellent.
Bad, is it?
You know, we'll take them outdoors then without a phone, or go with
them on a walk. Yeah, but they can't afford to go outdoors because nobody's got any money. You know, should we go for a trip in the car? No, we haven't got any petrol.
No, just go for a walk in the fields. And do you know what? There was a thing I was listening to on the other day on 5 Live, a guy who had written a book about the brain. No, that's when I'm driving, you see.
Right.
And, and then they had this guy on who'd written a book about the brain. And this is, right, he says that if you have 10 minutes a day, just chilling out in the fields somewhere, sitting on a park bench or whatever, your creative brain increases by 50% doing that rather than
Yeah.
your executive brain, which is going churning all the
Yeah, yeah.
time. So I think we should just go and sit in Hyde Park for the rest of the day,
Yeah,
actually,
okay.
and have a Plonk in there.
We
like
could do
10
it
bottles
outside.
of Plonk, don't you
Yeah.
reckon?
Well, you know, as we expand the show and the channel, we're going to be doing more sort of outside broadcasts. So maybe we'll get
you'll come to my village.
Yeah, we'll come to the what do you call it? The white supremacist village.
Xenophobic village.
Xenophobic village, where there's all
I won't
kinds
be
of.
allowed in tonight. I'll have
It's
to
like
go
the
and
village
come-
of. It'd be like the village of the damned, right? What's that over there? It's a Wicker Man. Yeah, don't worry about him. He's fine. Is there a pub there?
Oh, there's a pub there.
Is it any good?
It's very good. It's
Okay.
very good. I daren't give you the name because that
No.
would give away where
no,
I live.
Don't do that. You don't want to do
That
that.
would be disastrous.
We desperately try not to tell people where we are here in case there's, crowds
Well,
gather
queuing
outside.
up, queuing up,
Well,
you
queuing up
groupies,
either to say
groupies
nice
must
things
go.
or to chuck bricks at us. I don't know what. But every time Kelvin McKenzie comes in, he always says the name of it, and it's like, would you stop?
Oh no!
You know.
No, I don't do that. You've
No.
got to have a little bit of privacy.
We've got to, absolutely right. Now, any final super chats before we go? Because we're nearly at the end of the show now. Charlotte? Round of applause for Charlotte, by the way. She's done very well in the absence of Pooch, who's disgracefully taken some time off.
You don't allow that, do you?
You never said he was going to do that, How about this from John? What about reparations for grooming gang victims? Yeah, well, that's a good idea.
Absolutely right.
That's a great idea, actually.
Absolutely
And you know where you
right.
get them from as
no,
well.
he's
Loving the
giving-
show, Mike, says Laura Jane. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much indeed. This one from Duncan. We remember Stephen Lawrence, but forget Chris Donald, kidnapped and
Yes.
brutally murdered by Pakistani men who admitted it was
True.
a racial attack. That was in Glasgow, I remember that.
That's right.
A real
Yeah,
tragedy.
true, yeah.
HMS Bus Replacement. That's a good one. HMS Trump's Toy. That's from Samantha. Yeah, very good. And hi, Marilyn. We've had this one. Dan's excited about meeting Mike and cutting all his hair off. Yeah, well, hopefully not. And Rachel, see if you know which film this is from. Put the lotion in the basket. Any ideas?
No.
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh,
It rubs the lotion on its skin.
Yeah,
No,
oh
you don't
God,
remember
that
that?
is
One of the
real
great
scary.
scenes.
Well,
Nick
scary.
Sweeney's phone we've done this one, was nicked by Amelia Earhart, taken to Narnia. Well, you can't get rid of it halfway through. Is Kelvin banned by GB, Mike? No, he's going to be back next week. Tuesday we'll see him, I think. HMS Ingrowing Toenail. It's kind of limps along. Doesn't really go in any direction. Just goes round in a circle. Anyway, listen, it's been a great week. What? Pooch's, okay, I'll finish up with Pooch's Pooch. This is our favourite bit of the show where we do a little dog video just to cheer everybody up. Have a look.
Here comes the tornado!
They're mad, aren't they? Should put him in charge of Downing Street. What do you think? What do you think we should do now?
Dude, clover everywhere.
Brilliant. Very good. Oh, look at that. Bit hungry. That's maybe you, isn't it? You said you're a bit hungry. Right, anyway,
Give me
listen, thank you
food.
to all of my great guests this week as well. Thank you to Charlotte. Thank you to Pooch. For all of you for watching and listening. Thank you to everyone who's also in for Plonk of the Week. Dan's here to cut my hair. And we've got Chris Walkie, his son Oliver. Marilyn's going to stay as well. Who knows? Anything can happen in the next half hour, as they say. We'll see you, meanwhile, tonight. Plank of the Week, 7 p.m. Don't miss it. It's a really good one. Plonk of the Week out tomorrow at 7. We'll see you back here on Monday morning, sharp at 7 a.m. Have a great weekend.
Remember, despite all of the others out there, it's always the others. Don't be a plank.